This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What's going on, everyone? Anything we should talk about today? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis with you. And needless to say, the show got shaken up a little bit yesterday and for today with the public trade request from Connor Hellebuyck via his agent, Ray Petcow. There is a Bomber game tonight. We got the blue. We're ready for Princess Auto Stadium in a big matchup against the Montreal Alouettes. We will touch on that. Moe Khan's going to join us for a few minutes at the bottom of the hour. But then it's going to be mostly Connor Hellebuyck talk. Our boy Rennie, Sean Reynolds of Sportsnet, is going to give his 2 cents on the program. And then Jeff Hamilton is going to jump on as well. I know Hammer's got many takes on all of this. And, of course, we'll be staying on top of the chat as we were yesterday when the news broke of something that I don't think was really news to any of you that have been with us throughout the entire summer. But it certainly does make it far more public, maybe a little bit more awkward in a few weeks when training camp starts if there's no trade made. So we'll get some takes, not just from the guys in the market here, but coming up in just a few minutes, hear what the reaction was in Buffalo to the news yesterday, as well as some others like Brian Hayes of the Overdrive Gang and Marty Baron on what this means, the public trade request, and does it change anything with when it comes to a pending deal and when a deal gets done for the Winnipeg Jets and Connor Hellebuyck. We will sort of get right into it. Great to see everybody fired up for the start of the show and for the weekend. Do want to thank our sponsors that make it all happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at CoolBet. Don't forget, we do have our CFL 110 parlay up right now. And we've got the Bombers as the biggest underdogs. They've been at Princess Auto Stadium since before it was named Princess Auto Stadium, 2018 to be exact. The last time the Bombers were getting 7 points at home. There's a reason for that. Montreal Alouettes are damn good, but you can get the Bombers, I think, plus 230 on the money line right now if you're thinking that the Bombers can pull off one of the bigger upsets of the season. As I mentioned, we'll talk about that coming up, but CoolBet in the exclusives. We've got our CFL 110 parlay, and of course, the CFL section is loaded. Big CFL news, actually, just quickly to pop in. No VA tomorrow. The Hamilton Tiger Cats were 5-point dogs. It's now 2.5. So a very important game for the Bombers. Frankly, they'll be chasing both of those teams, needing to stay ahead of both to be in the playoffs, so we'll be paying attention to that one. Also want to thank Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, Boston Pizza, Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake, Breezy Bend, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, Travel Manitoba, the newly reopened Santa Lucia at 1473 Main Street. After that fire cost them the last couple of years, great to see that place open again, serving the good people of West Kildonan. Travel Manitoba, the Winnipeg Gold Eyes, huge win for the Fish last night. They win 3 of 4 against Kansas City. Final regular season homestand this week for the Fish at the ballpark. Assiniboia Downs, Rowley's transfer, the great people, Dr. Terry and the gang at St. Vital Dental Center. And we got plenty of ammo for a why not question of the day over at Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Michael Remis, what's going on? Great to have you back on the program.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time for Winnipeg Sports Talk. Very fertile ground for viewership numbers compared to the dead zone that we were in.
Did you send the bottle and the thank you note to Ray Petcow for the timing of yesterday?
I actually should. I was talking with people. I said it came out as 2:00, like right as we're about to introduce Ken Wiebe. And someone said to me, do you think they knew? I was like, well, I think there's a non-zero chance that Ray Petcow was watching and sent that out, hit send on the carefully crafted statement. Beautifully done graphic. This was not in the iPhone Notes app with a screenshot put out there. It had full letterhead, the colors selected, blue and white. Nicely done statement there. But the contents of that statement saying Connor Hellebuyck has officially requested a trade. He's been waiting patiently in the background for something to get done. And by all reports, the Jets have been trying, but no one has stepped up to a plate with the offer that they would like to accept, that they deem acceptable. So here we are, a couple weeks away from training camp, and now the question is, okay, is he going to report? Does a deal happen now? Lots to discuss here, and with not a lot of other hot hockey topics, this has been like the number one thing that every station or every show on YouTube is talking about.
Listen, no doubt about it. I mean, I've already been on in Dallas and Ottawa. There's a lot of people talking about it and want to know how things are going over in Winnipeg. And I can tell you, based on the reaction on my inbox on X, the Everything app, it was mixed. I mean, some people feel like, this is the time that the Winnipeg Jets have to play hardball, if you will. Others are saying just get a deal done. I won't rehash every take I had yesterday, but I don't really think this changes a whole lot, other than probably makes it more awkward if he's got to show up at training camp or for the start of the season if he wants to collect a check. I don't think it changes anything from Kevin Cheveldayoff's position as to what he's willing to take for his all-star goaltender. And I also don't think this really changes much in the eyes of the other general managers who have known about this since before the draft. I guess there's the one thing that could be a possibility in a market or two is that maybe having the more public nature of this coming out maybe gets an owner in the United States sort of a little horny to have, we could have this, great goaltender, a Presidential Medal of Freedom winner. This is what we need. He put some asses in seats. It'd be a big PR coup for the team to maybe get a guy like that, especially with such a public request. So, maybe there's a nudge to a GM to, hey, why don't we try a little harder? But other than that, we know Kevin Cheveldayoff. We've watched him work for 15 years. I mean, you can ask Evander Kane, you can ask Jacob Trouba, ask Patrick Laine, ask Pierre-Luc Dubois. You can ask, but you will be dealt when it makes sense. And listen, most of those players, like Dubois, Trouba, they were dealt with 1 year left on their contract when the team sort of had to do it. Ellie's got 5 years left on this deal. So, as they say, I know some people have differing opinions. I'm staying with that. This doesn't change very much other than the optics of it and maybe an even more awkward press conference if he does have to come back. Listen, we're going to get some of this reaction from around the league. But I do, Remo, want to give a big shout out to our pal Nick Ziff. We had a little team dinner last night at Nicolino's, and my God, was it incredible. Ziff's been a great friend of mine for a long time, and so many people have been there for some of the finest Italian cuisine in Winnipeg, but definitely wanted to give him a big thank you for a great night with myself, Connor, and Liz, as we did a little, just chat, just getting ready for a big season coming up that, in a lot of ways has sort of felt like it started immediately, kind of being pushed into September yesterday with the Hellebuyck trade request. For anyone that remembered, I guess there is a question as to how the heck we got there, and many people have different theories. This is what we have heard from Connor Hellebuyck, and this was the answer at the end of the season, which I think got a lot of people thinking that this was very much a possibility. This was Mike McIntyre asking Connor Hellebuyck if he's rethinking his future in Winnipeg at all at the end of last year.
You signed up to be a Winnipeg Jet essentially for life with your extension. Some may ask, I mean, you're a guy, you'd probably be 31 other teams that would love to have a Connor Hellebuyck on their team. So after a year like this, does it cause you at all to rethink the future? Does it lead to maybe some difficult conversations, that sort of thing?
You know, I don't want to go and leave any speculation. You know, I love this city and I love playing here, and the fans have given me so much, and I've given so much back to the fans, and you know, there's a real connection there. I wish more people around the league would see that and could see that. Am I going to go and tell you that right now I feel amazing about winning a cup tomorrow? Like, no team out of playoffs is going to say that, and no player out of playoffs is going to say that. But you make your decisions and you live by them, and you know, as time goes by, you try to reevaluate, and then honestly, that, as an athlete, the only thing you can do is put your best foot forward. You know, you make your decision and put your best foot forward. And
all right, so there is just that clip in case we needed to go back to that of Hellebuyck at the end of the season with his thoughts on, where he's going and his future here with the Winnipeg Jets. So we then get to the draft. There's all that smoke about Buffalo, credible reports that he had waived his trade to the Buffalo Sabres, which, I mean, to me says that he's far more open to a change of scenery than just going to the Florida Panthers or the Vegas Golden Knights, a la Dylan Larkin. And, by all accounts, I mean, Ray Petkow and their group has been a little more malleable than maybe some of the other guys with no moves have been when they've been looking for that change of scenery. Yesterday's public statement, why then and what will be accomplished? Marty Biron, who, of course, is in Buffalo, which has probably been the hot spot of the most Hellebuyck rumors, was on, I believe it was That's Hockey yesterday. It was on TSN. Marty was asked, what does this accomplish? Why go public now? Here's what he had to say.
Well, I think there's a few factors for that. One is pressure, trying to put pressure on the Winnipeg Jets to say, hey, we are late August now. I made that request months ago. Let's get it done. But also pressure on teams that would be interested in Connor Hellebuyck to say, put your best offer together. So maybe a little leverage there for Connor Hellebuyck to say, let's move things around. But also there's desperation, right? So if you've been sitting all summer long trying to figure out with your family, where are we going to be the next 10 months, potentially even the next few years, we've got to make that happen. Now, this is interesting because camps are going to open in a couple of weeks, and if Connor Hellebuyck wants to trade and has made that public knowledge, maybe he doesn't show up to camp, and maybe he gets suspended by the Winnipeg Jets, and then it kind of rolls on from there. But at least now he can prepare, and the Jets can prepare, and other teams can prepare publicly to say, hey, he's available. Let's make our biggest pitch that we can to try to get the 3-time Vezina Trophy winner in our side.
2, 1.
All right, so there's Marty's reaction from TSN earlier, or yesterday, I should say, right after the news broke. The boys on Overdrive certainly gave them something to talk about, and that was the story yesterday. If you were doing any sort of Canadian sports content, Brian Hayes, this was his immediate reaction when they got the news on Overdrive about the public trade request.
Connor Hellebuyck is officially revealing to the world, I want out. I'm done. I quietly told the team, or tried to keep it quiet a few months ago, that I requested a trade. And now I'm going public because we're getting close to training camp, and I'm realizing I might have to show up in Winnipeg. And I have to believe this is code for, maybe it's not even a code, like I'm not coming, right? Like he issued the statement, and he laid it on thick. I'll never forget when I got drafted. I've always loved Winnipeg will always be home. Yeah, of course it will be. But he said, with training camp approaching, I felt it was important to publicly confirm my request that I want out. My position has not changed, and I believe moving on is the best path forward for me and my family. Does not reveal anything there about showing up for training camp. He is contractually obligated to do so. But now we got training camp watch with Hellebuyck and I guess Larkin still in Detroit. If both of them want out, now they're both maybe not going to show up.
All right. Now, I mean, if he doesn't show up, certainly that will be, I mean, that's going to make it pretty spicy around Winnipeg. And to be honest, I think it will be anyways, Remis. I mean, if he does show up now, if he hadn't put that out and he'd come here, I think everyone that's been paying attention would still know what the situation was. If he's not here, obviously once the games start going, you're not getting paid. That's a pressure point on the Hellebuyck side of things. And, you know, from the Winnipeg Jets perspective, I mean, okay, it's out in the open, but I mean, I keep going back to Cheveldayoff's history, but at the end of the day, what his job is, and that's to do right by the Winnipeg Jets. So Hellebuyck came out publicly and said nothing's changed. The Jets had their statement that, you know, we're just kind of trying to quiet the noise. But what wasn't said in that in that bit from Cheveldayoff yesterday, I think the unsaid part was, much like Hellebuyck's request hasn't changed, our ask for an MVP player and the best player to wear a Jet jersey in the 2.0 era and maybe ever also hasn't changed. Here's a little bit more from the Overdrive show of a Hayes reaction. And bottom line is, this actually is more a message and kind of firing up the fan base.
And there's no putting the cat back in the bag,
Nope.
Right? Because to his credit, and he's right, he has quietly, obviously pursued this in the backgrounds, and I guess to the benefit of the team, but ultimately the benefit of himself, so that he doesn't have to deal with all the blowback for a few months. And I'm sure Hellebuyck thought, okay, by now I'm going to be traded. But, you know, it had been pretty well reported on that there was a belief that he wanted out. But again, there's a difference between he might want out or he might be seeking change and publicly issuing this statement. Now it's out there. Now there's no going back. Now you get people in Winnipeg, I would assume, that are going to turn on this guy.
Wow.
And why wouldn't you turn on him?
Right.
You know, like, that's sports. We just saw with Brady Tkachuk. Like, Brady got out quick. To his credit, Brady got out quick. And maybe you'd argue, to the credit of the Ottawa Senators, we just washed our hand of it, got the most we could. They would argue that and just said, screw it, we're done. We're moving on. Dylan Larkin's still waiting in Detroit. They don't know what they're doing there yet. They're still figuring out management.
They don't have a GM.
They don't even have a GM yet.
Trading guy when you don't have a GM.
They really got their feet up in Detroit right now. And in Winnipeg, I'm sure they've been fielding calls, and I'm sure they've been calling around, and maybe I'm sure their argument, Kevin Cheveldayoff's argument, would be, we don't have a deal yet that makes sense for us.
Yeah.
You got 5 years left on your contract. We can't find anything. But now that it's public, it's much more explosive, much more emotional for the fans. And now no one in Winnipeg can argue what Ottawa Senator fans were arguing. Wow, this is a creation of the media.
Right.
You're lying to us. He loves Winnipeg. No, he doesn't. He wants out.
All right, so there you have it. There's what they're saying in and around NHL circles. But Remo, the one guy, and we had him on the program, I got to say, Chad DiDomenicis from Expecting Buffalo was the guy to break the trades, the Stanley and Shen trade, and more. He's been pretty dialed in. Needless to say, they talked about this on Expecting Buffalo podcast. This is more on the aborted trade right in and around the 1st of July.
You know, things I think eventually really fell apart completely on the 1st of July. I do believe that there were some hard feelings in how some of the discussions throughout the whole process went. And as of a few days ago, there hasn't been much of any, or if any, conversation at all between the two sides. Now, I would anticipate there's some discussion now that this is public, like there's a reconnection that occurs here, only if it's natural, because there were previous conversations and one side is going to check in with the other at the very least to see, hey, is there still something we can do there or not? You know, all of that. But I think the closest they got was around the 1st of July. It was from what I understand, it was a draft pick. It was Luukkonen, a defense prospect, and a roster forward. That was the package that was put together, or was maybe close to agreed upon around the 1st. Didn't end up happening, and the two sides went their way with their offseason, and here we are now.
Now, something that's been widely reported is that the sticking point was the Jets getting the 4 pick, but not wanting to give up the 8th. Like, instead of getting a first-round pick, it's just a move up of 4 spots. I do wonder if they don't make that trade and Buffalo is picking 20th or whatever, like a mid-round first-round pick, if that pick would have been able to get the deal done with the other players that were mentioned. I mean, a defense prospect, a player. We've heard Josh Norris. We've heard Ryan McLeod. And obviously, likely UPL if it was done before the trade deadline kicked in. But now they're at a point where I've already seen the WGR thing popped up. That's the Buffalo sports station. I picked up my phone today, and I think the first thing in my For You was the guy in the morning talking about this situation. So, listen, it's certainly getting a lot more oxygen right now in Buffalo. Interested in your thoughts, and I'll put this out. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp, but Waverly and McGillivray? The public trade request that was put out yesterday, do you feel that this changes anything from the Winnipeg Jets' perspective? Do you feel that it puts more pressure on Kevin Cheveldayoff to do something quickly, to settle for a lesser offer? I'm interested in some differing viewpoints, so if you have that, or if you're sort of with me that, it's public and it might make things a little more uncomfortable, but I really don't think that the GM is going to change his ask because we're getting closer to training camp. We're getting closer to October 2nd for a player that has meant everything to this team and has 5 years left on his 8-year contract that he signed to be a Winnipeg Jet. So let us know in the chat for the Why Not question of the day. We are going to take a few minutes to quickly hit this Montreal Winnipeg game tonight at Princess Auto Stadium. And just around the corner, we'll have Sean Reynolds of Sportsnet. We'll have Jeff Hamilton also join us for much more on the Hellebuyck Talk. Quick thanks to our sponsors, and we'll come back with a quick trip out to Montreal. Winnipeg Sports Talk is brought to you in part by our friends at Cleanline Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. Proud sponsors of the Winnipeg Jets, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and Winnipeg Sports Talk, and Winnipeg's leaders in residential and commercial plumbing, along with heating and electrical services. In fact, Cleanline has been Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. As you can see, Captain Adam Lowry always has the backs of the Winnipeg Jets, and just like the captain, Cleanline has yours. With 24-hour services, when you're in an emergency, remember the number, 204-500-2001. Stick it in your phone. Cleanline's got your back. And, of course, you can also schedule an appointment online anytime at cleanline.ca. Folks, when you're in the market for batteries, you know where to go. Your local option in Winnipeg, Manitoba Battery. At Manitoba Battery, you'll be able to shop local and get the best prices in town for all your battery needs, beating the pants off the big box stores and keeping your money in Winnipeg with a local company. And the convenience is there as well. Manitoba Battery now has 2 locations in the city to serve you. The original location on Logan Avenue and the newest location on the south side on Dovercourt Drive. So pop in and see them and enjoy the great customer service that you won't get anywhere else. But Manitoba Battery also knows that you're busy and it might be tough to come in and your battery needs can't wait. Give them a call or order online at manitobabattery.com with citywide delivery services available same day anywhere inside the perimeter. For all your battery needs, make it Manitoba Battery. Check them out in-store today at one of their 2 Winnipeg locations or order online at manitobabattery.com. And of course, September is here, folks, and it is back to school time and moving forward into the next portion of the year. If you are moving during the fall or winter, you're getting ready for that. Take as much of the stress out of the move as possible with the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, Roley's Transfer. Roley's is family-owned and operated and has been going for over 60 years here in Manitoba. becoming the most trusted name in the moving game. What you're going to want to do if you do have a move coming up is check out their website with all the information on Rolly's history here in Winnipeg, as well as all of their services. And for your next move, click on Request an Estimate in the top corner. Make sure to put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies for Winnipeg Sports Talk listeners. And then simply let them know when you're planning on moving, where you're going to, and what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn it around with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that Rolly's has been famous for, now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rolly's Transfer. Find out more today online and request an estimate at Rolly's.com. Rolly's, the most trusted name in the moving game. All right, Hammer and Rennie coming up, but let's head out to Montreal. We had planned this before to talk to Moe about the big Bomber Alouette game tonight. But Moe, I would imagine in a hockey-crazed city like Montreal that the tweet heard around the NHL from Ray Petkow certainly probably ended up on the airwaves in Montreal. What did you think, and what was the reaction in Montreal when this trade request that everyone had been talking about all summer was officially made public?
Yeah, but hold on. Good to see you, Andrew.
Yes.
Good to see you again.
What's up, buddy? Love you.
Love you as well. See, Montreal is one of those cities where it's like fantasy hockey. Okay, like NHL 26, 27 on PS5. That by October 1, they'll have McDavid and Mark Scheifele in the lineup, right? Like, it's one of those type of markets out here because they're just 1 or 2 players away from a cup. But, when you look at this Hellebuyck situation, guys, and I know he's meant a lot in terms of the team the last 4, 5 to 6, 7 years. But the reality is, he's not come up big in the most important times. What's his biggest moment? Winning a gold with USA back in February. And am I surprised by this? No, I don't think anyone should be surprised by this. And I think he realizes that his best years are now. And for Winnipeg's direction, and you guys are much closer to it than I am, but I think for Winnipeg's direction, looking at the West right now, I don't see a path where they're going to be a contender this year. I think for Hellebuyck, if you're Kevin Cheveldayoff, you try to max out now, because remember, goalies are one of those position groups that you can really get a lot in return value here. It won't be equal value, but you can get some good value. And if you're Winnipeg, you got to be patient with this and get the best trade return they can get with this whole scenario playing out with Connor Hellebuyck.
Yeah, no doubt. How many now are the Habs fans lining up to get Helly for 50 cents on the dollar, or is it other Jet players that are soon going to be wearing the red, white, and blue of the storied Habs?
They want Scheifele. Like, they go, hey, if Hellebuyck goes, we can get Mark Scheifele, right? For 25 cents.
I thought Scheifele's public enemy number 1 in Montreal.
No, it's, they always have a forgetful mind here in Montreal. Because the reality is,
playing a line with Jake Evans.
For sure, the real net, but the reality is the Habs are lacking second line quality, right? And they think that Scheifele could be that perfect fit for this team. In the prime of his career, has put up some great numbers with the Jets the last, again, 4, 5, 6 years.
Probably would be.
But the reality is that, Ken Hughes is not going to be pressured by media to say, get a Mark Scheifele or get a Connor Hellebuyck, because they're not in that window yet, Andrew. They're getting closer towards being a real contender. But in hindsight, is this team better today than when they were bounced by Carolina in Game 5 back in late May, early June? Probably not. But I think for this administration, for the Montreal Canadiens, they're going to wait and find the best trade available that's going to make them better, not for the present moment, but for the future as well, because they want to have that 5 to 6 year window of being a dominant perennial cup contender than being a one-hit wonder.
I got to find this. Just before we just quickly hit the Bombers. But someone sent this to me. And again, in true Montreal fashion, the trades have already been put together just to be, rubber stamped by Chevy and Kent Hughes.
Oh, yeah.
By the fan base. Here's one. How would this one go over? And let me, at the same time, put this to the listeners. If this was the trade that was made, Jet fans, how would you feel? Mo, how would Montreal feel?
Sure.
Montreal lands the 3-time Vezina Trophy winner, Olympic gold medalist, and a Hart Trophy winner. But Winnipeg receives Dobish, Reinbacher, Alex Newhook, and a 2027 first-round pick. Who says no?
Oh yeah. That Shelby Ellis is right now pressing send to confirm. Like, first of all, we know that Reinbacher is a make or break year for him this year. He's not cracked this lineup, and maybe his ceiling is nothing more than being a second line pairing for the Montreal Canadiens, because they are in need of a right-handed defenseman on top of that, right? But you look at a guy like Dobish, who had a great playoff run. I think half fans know that Cam Fowler is going to be the ultimate number one goaltender. Maybe not this year or next year, but in 3 years' time, it will be his net to lose, essentially. And Newhook, I mean, look, guys, look. The fantasy owners in Montreal like to trade like the bargain bin guys to get that prime player, right? Like whether it's McDavid or Shifley or Hellebuyck in this situation right now. But again, Hellebuyck coming to Montreal will make them better for sure. But I'm not sure that there'll be a cup contending team that can compete with the Panthers or the Hurricanes, for that matter. The division alone this year will be a group of death in the Atlantic, Andrew. And you look at Tampa, they'll be competitive. Florida will be the best team probably. Toronto will still be a hard out to do. Ottawa will probably be a ping pong team. Buffalo will be better. Detroit, who knows what they're going to do. As I said, those teams all can be in playoff conversation, but for the Montreal Canadiens fans out there, they got to relax here and ease off on giving up the bargain bin guys for a top player like a Hellebuyck or maybe even a Mark Scheifele.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I'm sure the inboxes will be flooded with more deals that have to get done very, very soon. Joe from Winnipeg does make a good point. Does Helly want to play in a Canadian market? Maybe that's a question for his family first. A very good point by Joe.
Not to get political here, but the max exodus of American players of late, the key guys, the Hughes, the Kachucks, maybe now Hellebuyck going to the U.S. I mean, you see a pattern of behavior, right? Since the Olympic Games, that more American guys, except for the Montreal ones, are all looking elsewhere and trying to get a Canada to go back home.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Olympics changed everything for a lot of players that are playing in Canada, and I would suggest that Hellebuyck is certainly probably at the top of the list based on the fanfare that he received south of the border from particular individuals.
Yeah.
And how some people on this side of the border reacted to all of that. Mo, we've got to quickly hit this game tonight.
Yep.
The Alouettes are rolling, class of the league right now. Bombers have been struggling more often than looking great. It was the perfect example of the team last year, about 25 great minutes, and then a real ugly finish that ended in another loss. I mean, how vulnerable could this visiting team possibly be tonight against a team that just hasn't hit their way? Man, Alouettes look good, and I can't remember a game. Well, first of all, the Bombers haven't been home dog by a touchdown since 2018.
That's a long time.
But as excited are people to go out and have a great time at Princess Auto Stadium tonight, I don't think I can ever remember a game where so many people are just sort of expecting the team not to win at home, where they've been so dominant for so long.
So the CFL and Gravers have the MONT on the Grey Cup for the Alouettes right now, if it was done today, right? But this is going to be a tough game for the Alouettes because historically they don't do well in Winnipeg. You look at the body of work, especially at Princess Auto. They have not been the greatest team of success of late. And this could be a trap game for the Alouettes because, look, let's be real now. Their final 8 games, 6 are against the West, 2 against the East. So we'll get a better idea from Montreal if they're really that dominant of a force here. And I think Winnipeg will put up a good fight against the Alouettes. Now, for the Owls, look, they've done it in so many different ways, right? Whether it's Philpott being the ultimate all-world alpha male out there, whether it's Davis Alexander, who has been phenomenal this year. Even their defense has been playing better, but albeit though they played against Ottawa, who isn't that great of competition here. I'll be fascinated to see what Oliveira does, what the running game does for Winnipeg, because if there's one success that Winnipeg has had against Montreal in the last 4 or 5 years, minus the Grey Cup loss and the playoff loss from last year, they run the ball really well between the tackles. And they can establish that. I think the Bombers do have a chance going into this game here. But again, you're talking about this Montreal team. There aren't many holes right now to speak, but 3 months is 3 months from now, Andrew, with the Grey Cup being awarded, I think, less than 3 months from today. A lot can happen from here until mid-November. But if I'm a betting man right now, the Owls are definitely going to be the favorites in this game, but also from the long play that they could win the Grey Cup by mid-November.
It is amazing. And, Philpott, he only had 2 touchdowns and 75 yards last week. He's probably due for 2 bills tonight. I'm not looking forward to doing the cool bet lines at the end of the show and seeing what the over-under on his numbers are tonight. But listen, the bottom line is for this game to be in question in the fourth quarter, for it to be tight, the Bombers are going to have to raise their level twofold. I mean, I think they showed glimpses, and I thought Josh Freisand made a great point yesterday that while everyone was freaking out about the way the game ended, at least we saw for the first time a team on both sides of the football put together a great run, because that just hadn't been here so far. So,
yeah,
I mean, if the Bombers can build off what they did last week, I do think that, they can show a lot more. The problem is they're moving up, and with all due respect to Edmonton, they're moving up another weight class against what, especially this Montreal offense is doing. Like, the Bombers are going to win. Zach better be ready to rip that thing and put up 30 plus, because it's hard to imagine Montreal not doing what they do every week, and that's lighting up the defense on the other side of the field.
For sure, but this Bomber team, I even posted some tweets about it this year. They remind me of the end of the Alouette dominance back in 2012, 2013, right? When Calvillo got hurt every third play, right? And the team just couldn't close out games when they had it literally at their mercy. And this Bomber team is exact carbon copy, Andrew, where they're rather old in certain positions. They don't have that same killer drive, that mentality monster that you need to win these type of games. And, I know people were up in arms about the way it played out against Edmonton last week and how they couldn't just figure it out in the second half. But the reality is, they're much closer to the end than they are to the beginning with this Bomber core that they have in place. And you're right. If Zach Collaros can get going and get the ball quickly out of his hands, it makes him more dynamic. But the problem is he's taking too many unwanted hits, and you see him literally clench, getting up, getting hurt, whatever it is, the last couple of weeks, including the one against Hamilton, of course, not too long ago. They have to keep him clean. If they don't do it against this Alouette team or games beyond, again, they got the Riders coming up Labor Day weekend. This could be a long fall, end of summer to fall, and who knows what the Bombers will look like by early November, if there'll be a playoff team on the east side of the bracket or on the west side of the bracket at that point.
Yeah, and it's funny. I was just talking with Iwanek in Edmonton, and I'm like, what's a better result for the Bombers in the Hamilton-Calgary game? Is it Hamilton to win? I'm kind of partial to that. They already have 7 losses, and I think Calgary, could easily be 6-4. They found weird ways to lose. Their point differential is up, but none of it matters if the Bombers can't get some wins. And Montreal and then back-to-back against Sask. This is the meat grinder of the schedule. Mo, always great catching up with you, buddy. Enjoy the games this weekend, and I'll look forward to when the massive Habs-Jets deal comes together. We'll have you on right afterwards so we can break it down.
I can't wait when Hellebuyck thanks the Winnipeg fans when they win the Cup in October. In Montreal. That's going to be epic time.
Beat it.
Have a good weekend, buddy. Talk soon, brother.
Right on. There is
Take
Moe
care,
Khan. Of course, we will talk more about this game tonight. We will look at the lines at the end of the show before marbles, and we will touch on a little bit of the NFL notebook with Hacksaw at the end of the program, but it's pretty much all Hellebuyck all the time right now on this program. And our next guest, graciously joining us today, probably pulled out of some late August leisure and relaxing before it gets real next week on the job with Rogers as Sportsnet's #1 man in town covering the Winnipeg Jets. Guess who's back? It's Sean Reynolds, Rennie from K&R. Buddy, thanks so much for doing this. How are you feeling? How are things? How's your summer been, first of all?
Well, summer's been great. I'm feeling great. I love being called Rogers' #1 man. I hope that's the case. Since
the national media,
Rogers,
we all know
Rogers
that.
only man. Rogers only man in market. So I think I've earned the title somewhat. Yeah, summer's been great. I just wish Ray Petcow would have checked with me, about how I wanted to end my summer before, like you said, getting dragged, kicking and screaming from the lake and the dock and the poker table and all those things.
All right. Well, how surprised were you yesterday that this got blown up the way that it did by Ray Petcow, or did you think that was coming at some point?
Yeah, not at all surprised. And and this we know has been the case behind the scenes. I'm sure you go through the same things that I do, Huss, where I have Jets fans coming up to me all summer, and there was just this hopeful branch of Jets fans that were saying, you guys in the media, you always have these rumors and this and that and blah, blah. And Hellebuyck, well, did he really ask, is there really fire behind this smoke? And it's like, I can't, I'm surprised you can breathe. There is so much smoke with this fire. We knew this all along. This to me is a move by Connor Hellebuyck and his agent to say, listen, we know how you play this. We've seen you do it before. We saw you do it all the way back with Evander Kane. We saw you do it with Pierre-Luc Dubois. You are going to sit and you are going to wait and be patient to get what you want. It's Ray Petkow's job, the way he sees it, and Connor Hellebuyck, who wants to be in a different place and starting the season with a different team. It's his job to try and drive some kind of urgency to this situation. And that's what that was yesterday. That's Ray Petkow and Connor Hellebuyck saying two things. A, we're not as patient as you are. We want this done. If you're at the lake and you're not paying enough attention to this, get back to work and get us moved along here. And the other thing to me, Huss, is this is just making it clear to the Winnipeg Jets, who I think have played this the way they always play this with players like this, and the way that you can see in the language that they use when they talk about Connor Hellebuyck, they're trying to leave the door open to saying, hey, if nothing works out, you can always come back and continue being a Winnipeg Jet. This was Connor Hellebuyck saying, that's not an option for me. Let's make this public. Let's let the world know I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. I've made it official. Let's not couch this or hide behind the scenes. I want to go. That's what yesterday was all about, was telling a partner that you may still want me. I don't want you.
This, as I say, the partner has been well aware of all of this. 31 other general managers have been well aware of all of this. Do you think this changes anything?
I think it keeps the Jets from playing the game of, listen, this is a marriage that is falling apart, and it is one person in the marriage still wants this marriage to work and the other doesn't. And I think what that at the very least does is ends any kind of thoughts in the Winnipeg Jets heads that maybe, just maybe, if we don't move him and, hey, sorry, Connor, you got to start the season here. And maybe he comes back and maybe Vigo Bjork is great. And maybe Mario Ferrero is exactly what that back end needed to lock back in. And maybe the Jets start having success again. And maybe, just maybe, Connor Hellebuyck says, maybe I don't want out of here. Maybe this still works. This, to me, is Ray Petkow and Connor Hellebuyck making sure they send the message to the Winnipeg Jets that is not happening. This is so the significance to me, it doesn't change anything as far as Kevin Cheveldayoff is going to be like, well, now I really better get to work. Kevin Cheveldayoff has been at work the whole time, and we still know how this is going to end. Kevin Cheveldayoff is going to say, this is what we need to get this deal done. And if you don't hit that mark, he's not going to make the trade. This doesn't change anything with Kevin Cheveldayoff other than the idea that this is a marriage that is broken up. That is not, these two are not getting back together. That is what Ray Petkow and Connor Hellebuyck said yesterday. This is over. When it ends, that's all up to you. We'd like it to be faster than you seem to want to move it, but make no mistake about it. You're not whispering sweet nothings in my ear and getting me back into the house. This is over.
See, I think you're right on a lot of it, but I will disagree in some bit that this is any sort of messaging to the Jets. Like, I like your analogy. Guess what? They've been separated since the end of June. They've been sleeping in separate rooms, or Helly's been in a hotel. Like, this is not news. And I don't think that they were thinking that, this is going to blow over. I mean, they've been actively involved in trade negotiations with a number of teams. But we know how Cheveldayoff works. Yeah. This is the ask. We need this, that, and the other thing. And the offers had been short at that point. I mean, honestly, like it feels like a bit of a panic move on the Hellebuyck side, to be honest. I mean, listen,
I totally disagree with that. I totally disagree. And here's where I come from with this. This works for the Winnipeg. Well, exactly. But this worked for the Winnipeg Jets in the past. And I've got the perfect story. The Jets don't ever like to talk about it, but Andrew Kopp told me this, and we talked about this on Hockey Night in Canada. Andrew Kopp is a good friend of Mark Scheifele's, and Mark Scheifele had said to him that he was leaving. He was gone. Andrew Kopp was in a captain's meeting in Detroit and left that meeting, and his teammates said, your boy Mark Scheifele re-signed in Winnipeg, and he thought they were playing a joke on him until he picked up his phone and saw a text from Mark Scheifele that said, things changed in that meeting. I'm staying in Winnipeg, right? This is what the Winnipeg Jets did at that time. They did exactly what they were doing with Connor Hellebuyck, where they said, okay, Mark, we'll explore what's out there. We'll do this, we'll do that. But I'll tell you, we still love you. And if you decide you want to stay, we're here and we've got wide open arms. So this has worked for the Jets in the past. And Connor Hellebuyck knows this because Connor Hellebuyck was part of that. He re-signed at that same time when the Jets said, we still love you and we think that this can be salvaged. I think the importance of this for Connor Hellebuyck's camp is he is sending out the message. Your patience game does two things. One, it gets you what you want out of that trade because eventually people have to meet a mark. But two, the patience has got the person that they've had the little bit of the rift with back into the room, back into the house, and back into the relationship. To me, that is what this is about. It's not about putting pressure. It's about making sure you are letting Kevin Cheveldayoff know, don't get any pie in the sky ideas. This is over, and I'm making it public to hammer that home.
Like, dude, I mean, if they wanted to do it, just pick up the phone and say that. Like, you don't need to do a press release to say that. Like, Chevy, you can say a lot of things about Cheveldayoff.
Taking things public makes it a lot more definitive.
By the fact that, now everyone's talking about this like they were 3 months ago after all the insiders went to the cottage?
I don't think it affects anything as far as what he will get out of this deal. I don't think it changes anything. This, to me, is what it is. This is two partners and one partner saying, stop grabbing at my hand, stop rubbing my back, get your hands off me. This is over. That's what that was to me yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, listen, from what I know of, I mean, there has not been, a bunch of reconciliation attempts. There hasn't been a bunch of flowers being sent to Commerce, Michigan in the offseason going, everyone knows where things are at.
Adam Lowry 2 weeks ago tried to pour water on this and went out in public and said that this is, I expect him back in camp and we can make the Jets have taken every opportunity here to smooth this story and leave those lines of communication open. And it's worked for this team in the past where they got the player back.
What would you expect him to say? Yeah, you know what? He's pretty mad after last season. His family had a real rough ride after the Olympics. Things really soured on his situation here, and he's moving on. Like, let's not joke that a lot of this is public posturing. And I will point to, the statement at the end of the year. Oh, you know what? It's all about winning and stuff like that. Well, if it's all about winning, they were very, very cordial with the Jets for a guy with the full no move to open it up as wide as they did. Like, listen, if it's all about winning, are you going to the team that's been the joke of the league for 15 years? I love Buffalo. They had a great 4 months. They won a round in the playoffs. But Buffalo is not right there at your top list of Stanley Cup contenders. There's way more to this. And I'll just go back to the Scheifele example that you made because it is interesting, and I'm 100% with you. That somehow did a 180. The difference with that situation to Hellebuyck is that Helly has 5 years left on his contract. The reason why it came to a head when it did was because it was either we're signing you or we're going to move you. And they talked about it. He got a deal that he liked, and he signed it. This is totally different. The deal is done. He's locked in for 5 years here in Winnipeg, and the only time that changes is when Cheveldayoff gets the offer that makes sense for his employer, the Winnipeg Jets, to trade the guy that's been the backbone of the franchise. I don't see, and maybe you have other information that there's been talks and it's all been about mending the relationship. As far as I know, all the conversation's been updates. This is what we have. Things are a little quiet. We'll revisit it. We'll go back to. But the message, to every other GM and to Ray Petkow is the deal. This deal gets done when I get what I'm asking for.
I'm not okay. There is nothing that you just said there that I have any disagreement with. All I would say is I'm not characterizing this as the Winnipeg Jets behind the scenes have been making these grand overtures to make him come back, but I think it's pretty obvious in their contact, in their wording, in their refusal to say that there was a trade request made here. Like, the funny part about this is this statement comes out after we were all on a phone call or on a Zoom call with Kevin Cheveldayoff asking about the trade deadline, where he refused to answer if this happened. He's protecting the player, but he's protecting the relationship, and he's protecting the potential backslide. That's all I'm saying. So for me, I don't like Ray Petkow and Connor Hellebuyck especially should know that Kevin Cheveldayoff is going to conduct himself in one way and one way only. And I said it on radio out of Toronto yesterday. Don't play a game of chicken with Kevin Cheveldayoff, because you're either going to end up in the ditch or you're going to end up in a head-on collision, because he will not move until he gets what he wants. And nothing about this changes that. And I don't think Connor Hellebuyck thinks that statement changes that, which is why I come to the idea that this public talking of, we still love the guy, he's always welcome back in this room, and I did. That's one thing that you said that I disagree with. Adam Lowry doesn't have to say that. He doesn't have to say, I believe he's going to be back in training camp, and I believe he's going to continue being a Winnipeg Jet. He doesn't have to say that. He can acknowledge the fact that his friend that he knows is trying to get out of Winnipeg, and you know what? That's his thing. We'll deal with our thing. It doesn't always have to be, but we love the guy. He can come back, and that's worked for the Jets in the past. I stand by that. I stand by the example of Mark Scheifele. I stand by that was happening in this situation, and I stand by the idea that announcement yesterday was to kill that, to say this is not reconcilable. So what I'm going to do is take the thing that your GM flat out refused to answer in public, and we're going to kind of stick a little needle in him by going and saying so ourselves. Yeah, it did happen. The thing he wouldn't talk about with you, it did happen. Here we are.
Yeah. Listen, the only thing I'll say about Lowry is that, that was all pre anything really being officially public. So I don't think Lowry, or any player for that matter, and they're all in the know of what the situation was.
Exactly. Like, he knows that.
He's not going to go and be the guy that sort of goes rogue and on his own confirms all the stuff that we all know is true. They're just going to take the path of least resistance on all of that and try.
That's not the path. That's not the path of least resistance. That's the garden path with flowers all over it. The path of least resistance is to say, that's his thing between Kevin Cheveldayoff. In the meantime, I'm the captain of the Winnipeg Jets, and whoever decides to show up at camp. Going and talking about he's going to be back and he's the best goalie in the world and we're going to welcome him back and approach us as though he's back. That's the. You know what? Maybe, just maybe, we can get back together. I used to talk the same way about my girlfriends in high school when they ditched me.
Until he's not a Winnipeg Jet, he is. And obviously, we're supporting him. They have a great, there was no going to be you know what? Hey, if he doesn't want to be here, he can beat it or whatever.
And that doesn't need to be said. All that needs to be said is that's his situation. You can stay neutral. He didn't stay neutral.
Our pal T. Will is in the chat, and I guess he's saying Huss just can't accept the reality that this puts more pressure on Chevy.
I don't think it does. I disagree with that.
As I said, there's probably more public pressure. There's more smoke. There's more people online with their takes and all that. But I guess the question to T. Will and everyone that says it, you think that matters to Kevin Cheveldayoff? The answer to that is no. And we've got 15 years of examples and experience to tell us that.
Agreed. I agree with that 100%. This to me changes nothing about how Kevin Cheveldayoff handles this situation. He's got what he wants.
How do you see this playing out? Do you think Hellebuyck's here on the 17th of September? And if not, do you think he's here on the 2nd of October? When all of a sudden you got to be there to get paid?
Well, I'll say this. I had heard this, and I said it publicly yesterday. I had heard this right back at the beginning of July that Connor Hellebuyck had made it clear to the Winnipeg Jets organization that if he's not moved, he won't come to training camp. Now, I was also told in those conversations that we'll see what happens when the rubber hits the road, right? When all of a sudden you got to be there or not, it's a different thing. That could be another negotiating tactic, trying to put some pressure on Kevin Cheveldayoff. But the one thing I think is under talked about in this is everyone keeps, and T. Will is talking about the idea that there's pressure on Kevin Cheveldayoff. Kevin Cheveldayoff realizes that there's pressure also on his dance partner. And go back to the PLD move, because one thing we know that's been a strength of the Winnipeg Jets, and it's the strength of a lot of other teams, is when you get your team figured out in training camp and you get a good training camp in and everyone's together and now everyone can hit the ground running, that gives you a lot more of a better chance of getting a good start and then having a good season and getting into the playoffs and all of those kind of things. So the fact of the matter is there's teams out there right now that want Connor Hellebuyck, and they haven't met that price. There's pressure on those, let's say it's the Buffalo Sabres. There is pressure on the Buffalo Sabres because if you truly are trying to acquire Connor Hellebuyck, you want to do so in a timely fashion that is going to allow you to get him into camp, get him acclimatized to your system, which is so important for a goaltender to understand the system that he's playing behind. So if you are thinking, I'm going to go get this guy, there's pressure on you, because if you're going to go get him, you want to get him before camp, you want to get him acclimatized, and you also want to know what assets you have lost that you now need to figure out how you're going to make your team and build your team around. That's the one thing that nobody talks about. Is there pressure on Kevin Cheveldayoff? There always is. He's just impervious to that pressure. He'll wait to get what he wants because he knows the opposition team, if they are planning a season around Connor Hellebuyck in their crease, they got to get to planning and they got to get their ducks in a row. And you do that by acquiring the player before you get into training camp, or at the very least before the season starts.
Yeah, you know what? The one thing, and I don't think this was T. Will's point, but I will say this. My read on this, and I'll say this as a Jets fan and a season ticket holder on someone, like the pressure that I think is on Chevy now more than ever is to get a deal that is palatable to Winnipeg Jet fans. Because if they end up, if the optics are that, you know what, they'd been talking all summer and they didn't get a deal, and now all of a sudden they're kicking and streaming publicly saying, we're not coming, we need a trade, and he just buckles and gets a very underwhelming return for a guy that's meant everything to this franchise, that is the thing that will really resonate with fans. That'll be like, hey, wait a second. You're not doing your job. Like, he's got plenty of critics. But over and over again, in these sort of situations, what has Kevin Cheveldayoff done? He's turned chicken shit into chicken salad with a lot of these deals. Evander Kane, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Laine turning around, which of course turned into that. Like, he has been, you can say a lot of things about him. He has excelled in some of the most difficult situations without a number of trade partners. Yeah. It comes to this point after last season, and they are forced into making this trade for Hellebuyck, and it is a real underwhelming return. That's what they have to live with. The player's going to be gone. And that's where you'll hear backlash from fans. Like, there's a lot of people that'll be like, oh, whatever, let the guy sit. I mean, nobody cares other than moving forward. Is this going to be good for the Winnipeg Jets? And to me, that's the pressure on Kevin Cheveldayoff, both from the fan base and probably from the guy signing his check.
I'm glad you used the word pressure, because we just both agreed that what Connor Hellebuyck did and Ray Petkow did really doesn't apply pressure to Kevin Cheveldayoff. Here's why that shouldn't be pressure for him as well, Huss. A goalie trade is not the same as a regular trade. And so I'm going to tell you this right off the bat. There's a whole bunch of Winnipeg Jets fans out there who are saying, well, he's a three-time Vezina winner, and he's a Hart Trophy winner 2 years ago. We should get a Hart Trophy return. That's not how this works with goaltenders. And I'm going to tell you right now, because you take a team and you take a Hart Trophy caliber player. You take a Nathan McKinnon, you take a Connor McDavid. There's not a team in the NHL that wouldn't take that player, add them to their lineup, and just be miles, stratospheres better. Goaltending is different. Goaltenders are reliant. If you needed an example that goaltenders are reliant on how the team plays in front of them, just take a look at this. Last year with Connor Hellebuyck on the tail end of a Hart Trophy season, when the Jets were the best defensive team in the league, he was a Hart Trophy winner. When the Jets defense fell apart and they couldn't execute their system because they got too slow, he was a fairly average goaltender. So this is the problem. When you're going to get a goaltender, it's all about how much better do they make you than your last goaltender. And we had the perfect example of how thin those margins can be, because the Florida Panthers wanted Connor Hellebuyck, and then the Jets wanted Lundell out of that, and the Panthers said, well, how much better are we with Connor Hellebuyck compared to Markstrom? And they said, you know what? Let's run it through some models, and maybe it's 3 points at the end of the year. Maybe it's a win and a half, and that's the only difference. And we keep Lundell. That's why that trade gets made. That's why you do not have Connor Hellebuyck going there, because they don't need to give a Hart Trophy return. They just need to count the numbers and how much better that goalie makes you. And that's why this is tough, because if Kevin Cheveldayoff is going to focus on the public perception, I'm going to tell you this right now, they are not going to move Connor Hellebuyck for a Hart Trophy player return, at least if you're comparing it to what you would get for McDavid or McKinnon or Kucherov or Draisaitl. That's not happening. And 100%. That public pressure exists because Jets fans are going to look and be like, he's a Hart Trophy winner. Why did they only get that much back? Goalies are different. So if Kevin Cheveldayoff is going to let the public opinion of this trade dictate what happens, that's a pressure that he needs to buckle to less than the pressure that Connor Hellebuyck is applying to him right now.
Yeah. Now, listen, I mean, I'm not saying listen, we all know. I mean, if you're putting McDavid or McKinnon being traded, we'll put it this way. The ask that the Jets are making for Connor Hellebuyck would have been agreed to for one of those players in a second by every single team on that list. So we are
one of the greatest trades in history.
Yeah. We are talking apples and oranges.
Yes.
But at the same time, we are talking about a guy that means so much to this organization, that is incredibly accomplished. There is demand for elite goaltending in the NHL. And I think there's a lot of teams. And here's the other thing, especially while we're talking about, and the one thing I said that maybe from a Hellebuyck standpoint and Ray Petkow standpoint, that maybe there's a positive of this, is that maybe the public nature of this and the way everyone's talking about it in some American markets might nudge an owner to think, wow, we could get this guy. He's a Presidential Medal of Freedom winner. He was the Olympic hero. This is going to put some asses in seats. This will be big time for our club. Like, there's a business side of things that bringing a player in with that profile after the Olympics might do for your team. And maybe one of those guys nudges their GM and going, can we maybe do a little bit more? I'd really like to have this happen. And maybe that helps. But other than that, all I think it's done is made things a little bit messier when he may have to inevitably come back if he wants to get paid this year. And here's the other thing. Let's just play out a scenario where the offers don't change, a trade isn't made, and he doesn't show up for training camp, but then realizes that I pretty much have to play, and he comes back. That's a precarious situation for both. Because if he comes in unprepared, and not that he would, I mean, he's incredibly prepared. But you know what I'm saying. You miss training camp.
I know exactly what you're saying.
There.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he gets out there and his first 5 starts doesn't look great.
Or gets injured.
Or gets injured. Absolutely. I mean, the other side of that is that you wait, maybe another goaltender's terrible. Maybe UPL gives up 8 in the first game, and then in Buffalo they're going, whoa, wait a second, we got to do something.
Now we need it. We need this. Yeah.
Or and listen, I don't like unique. If Edmonton was in the States and they had a few more assets, I mean, we've already heard Freddie Anderson's missing all of training camp right now.
Yeah.
And if you're actually one that believes that this is about competitive window and all that, it's way more than that. But just let's say that that's the reason. I mean, there's few better spots than going to a team with McDavid and Draisaitl that's been to 2 cup finals, knowing that that's the final thing that they're going for to go to. He's not going there. That will not be the end destination for Hellebuyck. But now would be the time where that team, like, good God, the guy that we thought was going to be our guy, he's coming back at some point in October. You know, you might see that work on. But those are the only things that will kind of change the stalemate that it seems like Chevy's at with the other GMs. And unfortunately, despite, like, for the Hellebuyck side of things that wants to see this expedited, that press release yesterday is great for guys like us to talk about it. There's a hell of a lot more people in the show the last couple days, but we're still where we were 3 days ago before the press release came out.
Nothing has changed other than a lot of really good conversations that we're able to have.
Dude, speaking of which, has this will this be getting the dynamic duo back behind the microphone earlier than expected? You guys get anything plans with more on this?
Geez, if you could tell me where Ken is right now, it would save me having to send out missing persons reports. You know, he doesn't take my phone call in the summertime. So if you do happen to see him, let him know I'm looking for him.
Are you blocked until Labor Day by Ken? Jeez.
I don't know what's going on here, but he won't even golf with me. That used to be, if I wanted time with Ken, I could book a golf date. I can't even, he's gotten so good. He's out of my level now. So I don't get to meet with him on the golf course either. So
dude, you're the best.
Say hi to the guy.
Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, weekend, and we'll look forward to more great chats. And obviously, we'll all look forward to KNR getting going again in the near future. Have a great one, pal. Thanks for jumping by.
Yeah, you betcha. I always love being on. Say hi to my main man, Hammy, for me when he gets on.
You bet. That is a perfect segue because the Hellebuyck conversation will not stop here. Might even get to the football game tonight, but maybe not, depending on how things go. Jeff Hamilton is locked and loaded, and he will join us right away on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Winnipeg Sports Talk is proudly supported by our friends at Princess Auto. Princess Auto was founded in Winnipeg, headquartered in Winnipeg, and now coast to coast across the country with the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is waiting for you at Princess Auto. And Princess Auto's options just got a lot bigger in Winnipeg with the recent opening of their new flagship location, Superstore at 500 Panet Road. 105,000 square feet of literally everything you need for those projects or tasks waiting for you there. You're going to want to come hungry with some great food options. Make sure to check out the shop where you can try or learn all of the tools that you can pick up at Princess Auto with hands-on experience and tutelage from experts. And make your way around to the other side where you can check out the archery lane, check out the new hunting, fishing, and camping sections, and so much more. Princess Auto, proudly Winnipeg, welcomes you to the new flagship store at 500 Panet Road, and you can always shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. Well, with September here, the fun is not over. In fact, it's just getting started with the change of seasons over at Chud's Power Sports. Chud's Power Sports is Manitoba's power sports superstore for over 80 years in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. With the best in new and used vehicles, including motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, golf carts, boats and outboard motors, snowmobiles, RVs, Argos, and more. And as we move into the fall, there are so many great promotions going on right now at Chud's Power Sports. Of course, there's the Chud's Power Sports Fall Off-Road Savings Event, the factory authorized clearance sales event for off-road vehicles with Polaris, and of course the snowmobile preseason sales event right now for those of you that can't wait to get back out on the trails on your snow machine coming up. And we should mention we won't be on the water too much longer, but it is a great time for incredible deals at Chud's Power Sports with the end of season marine and RV clearance going on right now. September means incredible deals at Chud's Power Sports up in Gimli. So pop by, see the Derminator and the great people at Chud's. with over 80 years experience in the game up in Gimli. And you can check out those deals, all the promotions and everything else going on at Chuds right now online at chudspowersports.com. It's also back to school time, and I know many of you are looking to get you and your families taken care of with the trip to the dentist. And speaking of dentists, if you are looking for a great long-term home for you and your family, might I suggest our friends, Dr. Terry and his great staff at St. Vital Dental Center. St. Vital Dental Center has been taking care of generations of Manitobans in St. Vital for years, and now has a beautiful new state-of-the-art facility at 167 St. Anne's Road with convenient free parking right behind the building. St. Vital Dental Center handles clients from 6 months to 99 plus and has a full array of dental services from cleanings and checkups all the way to things like dental implants. They can do it all. And of course, the friendly staff at St. Vital Dental Center will always have a smile on their face, and they can take care of your smile to make it look that much better as well. For all your dental needs, give our friends at St. Vital Dental Center a call. You can book an appointment online today at stvitaldental.ca. All right, let's welcome in my guy, the Hammer, Jeff Hamilton. We probably won't do as much CFL talk as we normally would at the end of August, but there is a new episode of CFL 110 this week. Check it out at the Winnipeg Sports Talk YouTube channel or on the podcast, because I know Hammer's got some takes on the latest goings-on around the Winnipeg Jets. What's up? How are you?
Good, my friend. I've been looking forward to this hit. Some interesting news in the last 24 hours that you guys have already been covering nonstop. But
what was your read? I mean, this kind of came... I mean, I can't say it came out of the blue, because I think we've all known what the situation's been for a while. But what was your immediate reaction when you saw the public trade request, and where are you at on what this means?
Not to take the long route on this, Huss, but like, what is it like? I mean, I understand. Like, was there ever an official report that he had requested a trade? Like, do we, like, I mean, we talked about it all summer long. We talked about it since he,
I don't know. I mean, Elliot said he wants a change of scenery. I mean,
correct. Which
when you're under contract, the only way to get that is to get traded.
No, for sure. But I guess my point in even asking that question is, like, you know, like, people are like, oh, everybody knew this. Everyone knew that. Like, no, like, not everybody knew that he was demanding a trade, that he would not come back to Winnipeg, because that's the answer to the second question. He's not coming back to Winnipeg. That's how I read the message. Like, I read the message as calling the Jets bluff, right? Like, he sees August, you know, slowly exiting in the rearview mirror. He sees training camp around the corner, and he sees his request, which, to use his statement, came several months ago, right? And again, so, like, you know, like, to me, like, it airs out the Jets' dirty laundry. And that's the big difference this time for a team, right? And it isn't just a team, Huss. It isn't just the general manager, the president, the executives on the team that keep this thing, you know, keep the dirty laundry locked up. The players are part of that, right? The players need to be, you know, play ball, if you will, with their frustrations with their stuff. Now it's open. And this is not, you know, for an organization who likes to keep everything, you know, zip-locked and covered up and not share, you know, much information outside the odd talking points. Like, this is their dirty laundry now right in front of them for all to see. And the reality of the situation is that this puts the Jets in an incredibly difficult situation, like a classic between a rock and a hard place, because this feels like a lose-lose unless, and I know you've been talking about this for a while in the, you know, on the show, they can get a good return. And you heard Moe Khan talk, we heard Sean Reynolds talk about it, about the goalie markets, how they're not, you know, I know Connor Hellebuyck isn't just any old goalie, right? But the goalie markets are just traditionally difficult to crack. And outside of, you know, your suggestion I heard earlier about an owner maybe really, really getting excited about the idea of Connor Hellebuyck being on his team, I think this is, you know, to the other points about this not being really new, is that the Jets are trying to get the best deal, and they know they need to win this one. They've been very successful in the past under these kind of conditions, under, you know, when it comes to trades, when it comes to, seemingly having their hand forced, they've come out and, Cheveldayoff has pulled a rabbit out of a hat. But this one feels way different. It feels way tougher, and easily will be his biggest piece of work as GM on this team.
Let me ask you this, because you used the term that they're sort of calling the Jets bluff. I mean, I don't really know that there's been much of a bluff in that. I mean, it's been well reported that they were very close with the deal with Buffalo. And the minute I heard that he'd waived his no trade to Buffalo, and again, I don't want this taken as disparaging Buffalo. It's a really exciting young team. They had a great season last year from about the start of December on, and did something they hadn't done in 15 years. But that has been a terribly managed team for a long time. They're in a really, really tough division, a tough conference. Put it this way. If you were saying, here's my 5 teams and it's all about winning, Buffalo's not on it. So, I mean, that said to me that they're like, we'll play with it, we'll work. I mean, yeah, there's some other teams that we'll go to because it's important that we make this happen. And I mean, that was widely reported at the draft around. So, I mean, listen, I think for both parties, they wanted to kind of keep it as quiet as possible, which wasn't that quiet once, people get involved. But here's the thing, like, once we get to, like, if there's no deal and the Jets don't get that offer that feels like a win or fair value for this player, and he's not traded, then there's a call of the bluff on the other side.
100%.
Are you willing to eat $8.5 million and wait for an injury or something else to change that will allow you to be traded? Or do you come back and play and wait it out? And I don't know the answer to that. I think only the people closest to Connor Hellebuyck know how that is going to work. But to me, that's the most fascinating part of it all. Like, skip training camp, whatever. They don't get paid for that. It's not great for the team. It'll be the story around training camp, and that's not what anybody wants. But again, it doesn't change the stalemate, if you will, on what the Jets want to get and what hasn't been offered at this point.
Yeah, well, when I said bluff, it wasn't this bluff that, like, the deal didn't get done or whatever. It was the bluff, I believe, to be that, I think the Jets are obviously looking for the best deal, right? And I'll get into, that in a second, into why
that's the job,
and whatever.
Right?
That's the job, right? They're not, they care about their players, but they care about their organization more. It's like every company, right? Like, they care about their individuals. They're supposed to care about their individuals, but it's the company, the brand that is always protected, right? So, and, when I said bluff about Connor Hellebuyck, I think the Jets are obviously looking to get that, they know the situation. They know he doesn't want to be here. They would like to, fix that situation either one of two ways, finding the right trade or trying to convince him to stick around in Winnipeg, to convince him that what they're doing is the right things. And the bluff I'm referring to is, I think the Jets, while they're trying to actively, get the best deal, because this one they need to win on paper. Like, they're pretty self-conscious about losing any trade. This one is particularly important to the fan base, to the future of this organization. And so I think they still think that, they still have that attitude. And I don't disagree with it, that you're under contract for 5 years. Like, if we can do it, we'll do it, right? I think that would have been the dialogue, with the hope that maybe, distance grows the heart fonder, right? Like, maybe those are comments earlier on, right? You're heated up around, based on the obviously the disappointing season with the Jets. You didn't make the playoffs. Then there's the what he received from fans who didn't appreciate, obviously, his connection with Donald Trump and going to the White House. And we all know the U.S.-Canada division right now and issues around it. So there's there's those things, right? But I think they thought that maybe some time would be like, okay, let's get ready for the season here. And then again, the timing is everything here, right? The bluff is like, I'm not going to keep this quiet while we quietly work together, trusting you that you're going to get this done. That trust is clearly evaporated, and now this is the pressure tactic. Now, when I talked about, the importance of this trade, this is so important to the Winnipeg Jets. And as obvious as that sounds, they need to get a package back that will make them better than when they had Connor Hellebuyck, or at least at the very least even, which is not going to happen in net because you're not going to get a comparable goalie. You're not looking for a comparable goalie because you now have Stuart Skinner under contract. So you're looking for roster players that is going to be a quick retool, and hopefully you can get into the playoffs and compete. Now, here's the problem. We just talked about the goalie market value. That's the pressure on Kevin Cheveldayoff. That's likely why it's taken this long, because he hasn't hit what he wants out of a trade. Because if you don't get that out of a trade, and the players that are in your room still that are committed to this team find out what you traded for, and they don't believe that they got better overnight, or at least feel good about the pieces they're getting back to compete, what's to say that Josh Morrissey is going to be back in a couple of years? What's to say that teams aren't going to be, going after Mark Scheifele, trying to get his $8.5 million contract, right? Like, there's all of a sudden players start thinking this doesn't feel like a place to win. And when they all sign their long-term deals, Kevin Cheveldayoff told them to their faces that they would do everything that he could to make them a winner. And right now, with their goalie, their best player, asking to leave after a season they never even made the playoffs in a division that is going to be very, very difficult to compete in, that's the rock and hard place. But it's even more than that, Huss, because you can look at these two things as, because I kind of feel it in two veins, and I kind of get it on both sides. Like, I'm with the group that says let him rot, let him sit there. He's got 5 years left on his deal. Like, he signed this 7-year contract only a few years ago. You got to honor the contract. He's a Winnipeg Jet, so if he doesn't want to come here, whatever, get rid of him. The reality is yeah, you can do that, right? And yeah, you can really show him, but that's not making your team better. That's not fixing the problem I just said with the rest of the players in that room. So, and then then here's the other thing. If you do trade him and you don't get the pieces back, and say it starts an automatic, this is the other vein. This might be the start of a rebuild, right? A lot of fans out there think they should tear this core apart, start over, have some failed seasons, get those picks like a la Utah, a la San Jose Sharks, the young rising teams here that are going to be good now for a while and have made smart decisions in drafting because of their position mostly. The reality is if the Jets go that route, they can't afford it, because the new NHL tells us now that if you're drafting in the top 5, you're going to have to pay that player $19 million potentially after 3 years. Long gone now is the Jets' ability to ask 21-year-olds to take, a nice bridge deal into a longer deal that they can take, UFA years out of. This is the new NHL. It's going to be expensive, and I will not be surprised whatsoever if the Jets don't come close to the salary cap as it continues to rise, because financially, the Jets can't really spend that much money. It's going to be a tough situation.
I don't know. Again, if you weren't able to be up there, like getting prime top star, superstar players like a Carlson is, or a Celebrini, like, that would be a great problem to have for Winnipeg. Like,
sure,
they would make that work. Like, I'm telling you right now, that is not something like, you want good players, you're going to have to pay them. They have done that. Now, listen, the cap is...
They haven't done that. They haven't done what the new NHL is. Like, they'll have to do that. What they would have to do in this process is
I'm saying they've been
very different than anything they've ever done.
Players to market value. Like, if your point is that the economics of the league have been turned so upside down that all of a sudden that isn't possible, I guess time will tell. But then are you in the league anymore?
No, this is the rock in the hard place, because I think the sweet spot for the Jets right now, from a financial situation and an on-ice situation, because again, like, I'm not suggesting the Jets, I'm not cheering for a rebuild, because I think there's a lot of inherent issues in a rebuild in this market. Notably, the fact that, we have a very smart fan base that gets hockey and understands it. I'm not one of those people who believes that translates to season tickets. Like, if the Jets are at the bottom of the barrel of the standings, I do not believe that the rink is going to be full. They couldn't fill it when they were President's Trophy winners. I do not believe they're going to fill it if they're bottom dwellers, right? So, like, that's part of the rebuild that nobody wants. So they obviously have a lot of trust in the core they have now, right? The core that has been here forever and is, I don't agree with the formation of a core for that long, for long-term success. I think we've seen this crew here, this core leadership group, peak. And it was a couple of years ago with the President's Trophy. Like, I don't think better days are ahead. But again, the reality is unless you can, work trades out and bring in value in everything you do, that not only helps the present, but the future, you're going to be stuck in a team that's aging and guys that want to leave. So, I'm not saying it's an impossible fix. It's just when we're led to believe here under the one and only general manager this team has ever had, that it's very difficult to get players. And I'm not saying that's not true, right? But we've never seen anybody else try to do it here in this city. And the fact is that's the avenue that the Jets are going to have to live in, because they're not going to be a rebuilding team that finishes second last place for multiple years and becomes a team. And right now they have players that are asking to leave that are linchpins in their success. So it's just, that's what I mean by a rock and a hard place. I'm not sitting here, I think it's a tough situation, and even though that this announcement doesn't necessarily change any of the dynamics that the Jets have been working with, it does give us an idea of just how difficult this situation is going to be.
Yeah, listen, I don't disagree with that.
Because there was always a potential for a change of heart, right, Huss? Like with no messaging, with no public announcements, there's, whether it's 0.01% or whatever, there was always a chance that he'd have a change of heart and want to come back for one more year with Winnipeg, right? And then revisit this next year. Well, that's no longer the case.
Yeah, it's certainly not the intention. I mean, it may have to be if he wants to get paid. I mean, they haven't said that under no circumstances will you see me here in Winnipeg this year. Like, that was missing. I think certainly it tips off that,
you're not going to send that in your goodbye note that you're not coming.
You probably won't see me on the 17th of September, but when the rubber hits the road on the regular season, if there's no deal done, there's going to be a big choice. But this is the thing. I think the Jets know that, this isn't, like, at the end of the day, if you just want to be on a better team, and you're just really thinking
this
that
is more than just being on a better team. We all know this. This is more than just being on a Stanley Cup contender.
Absolutely. And this is the thing. And to be honest, I really do think that the fact that kids are going back to school right now, and he's got a young family, like, if I had to guess at what the real motive at trying to, do what they did yesterday, I think it's the uncertainty of where his kids are going to be in school and where they're going to be this year, that maybe was something that got this going. And I understand it. And I'll tell you what, I also understand him deciding that he, wants to go elsewhere. If his family is in a situation post-Olympics where they were very uncomfortable around here and had some things happen, in the community and certainly online, as he spoke to with Sarah Orletsky, I don't begrudge the guy for a second for doing that. I would do the exact same thing. But again, I don't think there's any way to change that, which again, that is the sort of reason why I think this is the rock and the hard place that you speak of. There's no going back and changing history. If the people around him, put it this way, if he was single, we're not in this situation right now. If he didn't have to worry about a wife and worry about his young kids, I think it's like, hey, get me out of here, or trade, or maybe the trade doesn't even happen. Maybe the request doesn't happen the way that it does. But these are human beings. And for all the talk about wanting to win, which I absolutely believe, I'm telling you right now, Connor Hellebuyck, if he has to choose between hockey and his family, is 100 out of 100 times going with the latter. And again, that makes it tough. So, listen, I don't envy anybody's spot in this. I think they're all probably pretty disappointed that it's come to this and where they are. But the fact that it's way more public, while, maybe cluing a few other people into what's been happening behind the scenes for the last 3 months, like we've been saying before, there's no big There's not a better chance of the Jets lessening their offer today because of that yesterday. And by the same token, if a trade doesn't happen, I don't think that means that there's a better chance of a kumbaya moment and then, actually, you know what, we'll give it another run and hopefully we'll have a good year. And that's why we're at where we're at.
Yeah, and I mean that's why both sides have to do and use the leverage that they have. And that's, like look, like you mentioned Hellebuyck's family, obviously the US Olympics and winning the gold medal, like, Connor, it could be simply a business decision in the sense of, the Medal of Freedom or whatever its official title is a massive recognition in the United States. It is being viewed as a joke here in Canada, right? Like, he got that visceral. Like, I don't buy into the, I obviously understand the treatment of the family and stuff, and I'm certainly not condoning it. I mean, social media is an absolute cesspool, and it's just there to attack people and, whatever. So, like, I understand that frustration. I'm with you in the sense I think he wants to be in the U.S. I mean, it's no coincidence. We talked about this, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago about him starting up his social media, him getting opportunities, right? Like, he's making $8.5 million, which is enough money for a vast majority of us to be very happy, let alone it, getting that in multiple seasons. But he's looking up at other players who are making 18 million, more than double he's making. And he wants, he can be marketable in the US. Right? People will bring him out. He can bring his medal out. People can touch it, see it, talk to, U.S., Olympic gold medalist Connor Hellebuyck, and he can make money. Like, that's probably as much as it is about bringing his family to the States. So
look at his summer this year.
System.
I mean, the guy's at NASCAR. He's doing all these things. And I think, to be honest, he's had a lot of fun doing all of that. It's been
that's
great.
What I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. It's having fun. It's feeling comfortable in your own skin. You come back to Winnipeg, you give your heart and soul to this organization for the whole time, and then you get ripped to shreds because people like to shit on people because of their, where they were born. And like, I get the US and Canada tensions, but like, we live in a society now where like people are so quick to just shit on each other. Like, and I just don't understand it. I apologize for my language, but it drives me crazy because it's like, why would you want to be here? Like, so people who want to take out their own frustrations in their life and make it about the US and you can't even go on social media and not see 1,000 conversations of people arguing based on whatever, the fact that they live on different sides of a border. Like, if I was Connor Hellebuyck and I was treated like garbage in Canada, I'd want to leave too. Like, that's the world we live in. And while, he's obviously under contract for 5 more years and the Jets can use that to their advantage, and he can use his own life to advantage, right? Like, no one wants to be sitting doing nothing. The Jets don't want to have Hellebuyck sitting on, back at home collecting a paycheck, or maybe not collecting a paycheck, but not being on the roster. Like, it's a lose-lose for both sides. So, obviously this guy, Connor Hellebuyck, he hasn't exactly been a media darling, but, I've said in the past that he's honest when he's honest, and he's straightforward when he's straightforward. And if he's not feeling comfortable and he doesn't feel like the next, if he's envisioning the next 5 years of society going the same direction it's going, yeah, I don't blame him for wanting to go somewhere where, he's applauded and not considered, a loser because he won a hockey game and was awarded a medal that was outside of his control.
Well, and the funniest thing is, I've always said that. I mean, just imagine the Team USA group chat in the week after the guys got back to Canada, where they're dealing with all that stuff. The guys like Hellebuyck are having his wife under attack and all that stuff because that's the only way people can kind of get to him for some perceived slight.
And you can tell during
that
he's not comfortable with that. Like, he's not a player who's comfortable with that. Like, there's some players who let that stuff roll off their backs.
No, but
and laugh at it probably.
Like, and then he's like in the group chat, they're getting celebrated everywhere they go.
Totally.
And I mean, the fact of the matter is, like, obviously anything directed at the family is such scumbag behavior.
Of course.
Like, I totally understand why people feel certain strong feelings about the U.S. and all of that. I mean, no kidding. But listen, I also understand why Canadians, like, we don't want to talk about the Olympics. The last thing that I want to talk about is that gold medal game of him stealing that gold medal from us again. So, we will look back, I guarantee, 3-4 years down the road, we'll look at this insane period of time, and speaking to this situation, we will all agree that the Olympics and the Olympic result and the fallout changed absolutely everything. But to be honest, none of that really matters right now. It is what it is. This is the situation. Everyone knows about it now officially if they didn't already. And we'll see what happens when Chevy gets a better offer as to where he's on his way. But it could take a while. Hey, just quickly before we go, because we're going to get Hacksaw on. We got to get the marbles and all of that. There is a football game. Normally we would have spent much more time on that today. Thoughts on just this predicament the Bombers are in right now, up against it. Very disappointing season so far. Tough games at home. And now desperately needing to get back into the win column. And look who's coming to town. Davis Alexander and the one-loss Montreal Alouettes.
Yeah, the Bombers are going to be in tough. There's no doubt about it. We've seen the uneven play from them all season long, and we've seen the exact opposite from the Montreal Alouettes, who are 9-1, losing their only game in week 3 in overtime to a good Edmonton Elks club. So this is the team that's firing on all cylinders. I was talking to head coach Jason Moss yesterday, and I asked him about having a target on his back. And I love Jason Moss. He just gets so passionate. He gets so real, and he almost gets emotional when he's talking. Like I can barely contain it. And he talked about couldn't care less. The idea, of having, they say every week they're going to win. That puts a target on your back. You're 9-1. That puts a target on your back. Who cares? They work hard every day. So, obviously the Bombers are going to be in tough, but we talk about it all the time. This is a narrative changer. You want to change the narrative in your season? You want to make it any given Friday? Go out there and beat the top team in the league, and you'll have at least a week where teams aren't talking about your downplay. They'll be talking about how well you played, if this is something you can, bottle, all those kind of questions that you're used to when you're winning games. So it's a big one for the Bombers. They're again going to be in tough, but that's the schedule, and you got to play who you play.
Hammer, enjoy the game tonight. Appreciate the time as always, and we'll talk to you soon, pal. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, everybody have a safe weekend, and we'll chop it up next week.
You bet. All right, there is Jeff Hamilton. Still got lots to get to. The NFL Notebook with Hacksaw is coming up. We'll get marbles open in a couple of minutes and continue the program right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. September's here, and it's almost time to drop the puck on another hockey season. For players of all ages and all skill levels, that means a trip to Royal Sports, Manitoba's hockey superstore for over 50 years to get ready for the upcoming season. Royal Sports has been the hockey headquarters for the game in Winnipeg for years and is the place you can go to take care of literally everything you need for the upcoming season in one quick trip to Royal at 750 Pembina Highway. The biggest selection of sticks you'll find anywhere. Skates, full equipment, goalie gear, and literally every accessory that you could possibly need for the upcoming season is there for you. And for those of you with youngsters just getting started or growing kids in the game, Royal Sports has hockey players working in the hockey department who will help you get the best deal and pick out the best piece of equipment or stick for the player in your family. So as hockey season approaches, get ready to drop the puck with one trip to Royal Sports, Manitoba's hockey superstore for 50 years at 750 Pembina Highway. And for those of you that aren't playing, Royal is also the fan headquarters. Jet season coming up. They've got all your Jets gear. Blue Bomber gear. Of course, all the new NFL merchandise. Blue Jays gear as they get into this push to try to make the playoffs, and so much more. It's all waiting for you at the one and only Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Make sure to pay attention to their Instagram feed and give them a sub at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops, sale information, and info on their world-famous tent sale coming soon. Well, with hockey just about back in the NFL about to kick off, it is time to get together with the gang at your local Boston Pizza. No better place to gather with your gang for the big game than your local BP Lounge and enjoy ice-cold schooners, world-famous BP wings, and gourmet pizzas, and so much more. And with the Jets season just around the corner, great promos nightly at Boston Pizza to watch your Winnipeg Jets and all the primetime NFL games on the big screens with big sound and great NFL prizes to be won as well. When it's time for the big game, there's only one place to go, your local Boston Pizza. And hey, if you're staying at home and can't get out tonight, you can always get it hot and fresh to your door by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. Our friends at Travel Manitoba know that as the summer changes seasons into fall, there's still so much for our province to offer. So if you're planning your next adventure, fall into winter, really 12 months a year, start with Travel Manitoba. Whether you're searching for road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest festivals, events, and goings-on, everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. Looking for ideas on the go? Follow along on social media at Travel Manitoba for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't-miss experiences from across the province. Or if you prefer a personal touch, stop by one of their visitor information center at the Forks in Winnipeg. And hey, as we get into September, one thing you can rest assured is the fun is not stopping at Assiniboia Downs. It's been an incredible season of live racing this year, and the fun continues throughout September with live racing on Tuesday and Wednesday night at 7:30. Of course, Assiniboia Downs is always free admission. It's always free parking, and it's always a great time with friends and family of all ages. If you want to do it up big, make an appointment and a reservation in that clubhouse dining room for the night to take advantage of that incredible prime rib buffet and more, or just grab your gang, show up, make a couple bets on the ponies, enjoy some, can have a great time outside at Assiniboia Downs out on the west side of the city. Check out asdowns.com for more information on live racing and everything else going on at the track throughout the year. All right, we'll open marbles shortly. Keep your eyes on the chat, but right now it's not a Friday without a visit from Hacksaw, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Check out the website, leehacksawhamilton.com, and make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Saul, what's going on? How are you? Anything? As you can imagine, the show's been hijacked a little bit by a certain trade request around here.
Well, I concur with you. I understand that. I'm a hockey guy, and I'll just give an opinion from outside the circle, from this side of the border crossing. History will write that player was unbelievable for that franchise. Appreciate the accomplishment of the person. Has the marketplace changed? Yes. Do guys want to play certain places? Yes. Players have a right to express opinions about maybe where they want to go. But the history book should write all things Hellebuyck did for that franchise, that community should be honored. And if they can move on, helps him, and there are teams that need goaltenders this side of the border, helps the Jets, whether it's draft picks, cap space, whatever, just leave it the way it is. Because I tend to think that's a special person. Was he cold at times to the media? Hell, yes. Was he tough to deal with? Yes. Is there a postseason failure record more recently of disappointment? Yeah. But in the big picture, you tell me, Hustler, am I right or am I right?
Oh, listen, he's the most accomplished guy ever to wear a Jet jersey, period. End of story. I mean, he's got 3 Vezina trophies and a Hart trophy. And we'll be fortunate if in my lifetime we're ever talking about someone, even in the same conversation with that sort of personal awards will be great. I mean, we trade it all for team success, the ultimate team success, but it's no surprise that it is a huge story, not just here, but around the National Hockey League. But Lee, I have to ask you just off, we'll get to the on-field stuff. How is Jed York picked up in an East Palestine, Ohio trailer park with $140 by a sting operation? I mean, he's a billionaire. No other options?
Is there a way to explain how money can change people? Again, the general consensus here, born on third base, thought he invented the game. That's really what people are saying about Jed York. He inherited the franchise. He's got it. So be it. But he's not the only one that's done something stupid. I mean, the greatest modern day owner in the NFL is probably Robert Kraft. And he got hooked on the same thing, and he got picked up. Now, he did not get charged because there was an entrapment issue there with video. But at the end of the day, the NFL's got something to say, and it'll come. So the fact that he was accosted in a sting is pretty significant. It's pretty stupid. I would assume he'll get a couple 3 to 6 game suspension. Jim Irsay, the beloved but drug-troubled owner of the Colts, he got a 6-game suspension for driving under the influence with all types of opioids that eventually cost him his life. Kraft never got disciplined by the league because he was never found guilty because it was an entrapment case. But the general theory is he did what he did. He was caught with what he was doing in Florida, etc. So this stuff happens a bunch of times. You know, we got ownership. You got the Vrabel situation, you know, sex for scoops. You got players in all types of trouble on a consistent basis in the NFL. So it's just a piece of the real estate the National Football League has to deal with. But it's a blow to his credibility. And I don't think we're going to ever see him again in the NFL. I think he'll just kind of fade.
Well, speaking of never seeing again in the NFL, you just mentioned the Vrabel thing. We know he's coaching the Patriots moving forward. Do we ever see Diana Rossini working again publicly in and around professional football? Like, what's next for her? She's still got an AP vote for the MVP and whatnot, as far as I know.
Well, I don't know whether she'll get hired journalistically by any of the well-known national media, but hey, watch on your TMZ channel. Anything's possible. But again, what about that person's credibility going forward? And we don't know the depths and all the details. Yeah, there's a lot of speculation out there on social media. I haven't overreacted to that story because this stuff happens all the time. Guys, women, husbands, wives, girlfriends, you know, affairs, et cetera, et cetera. I think it makes Vrabel look really tacky that this was going on for such an extended period of time. But it says volumes about Vrabel's wife that she is still with him, and they put this behind. And it'll probably fade because there's so many other more important stories to talk about than a guy's bad choice.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, speaking of bad choices, a perfect segue into Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. He had that crazy press conference, lashing out at the fans, bringing up the fact that they booed him when he got injured. Honestly, maybe an interview with an athlete that showed the least amount of self-awareness I can remember. And then Monday morning, he's named the starting quarterback of the Browns over Shadur Sanders. I mean, what do you make of what's happening in Cleveland?
Can you use the word dysfunction? Does that perfectly fit? Hey, here's a prime example. Outside that football stadium, and the Browns have such great heritage going back to 1946 when Paul Brown discovered the franchise, and it wound up going into the then National Football League. Outside, there's a statue of Jim Brown right by the main gate. Somebody overnight on the weekend hung a sign with Deshaun Watson's name on it on the Jim Brown statue that said 27 women, no supporters. Talking about the number of women that filed sexual deviant stuff against Deshaun Watson, and that led to the big out-of-court settlement. It led to the massive suspension. So, I mean, he has never shown 1 ounce of remorse nor I was wrong guilt at all in any conversation. Even after coming off the significant suspension the NFL handed him.
He literally said on the weekend, Lee, that I wouldn't change a thing. No regrets. Don't regret anything that I've done. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I concur. You talk about lack of self-awareness, lack of intelligence, if you will. Hey, it's his right to be a degenerate. It's your right as a fan or a Browns fan or the dog pound to have an opinion about that degenerate quarterback. But the Browns have really been dysfunctional. He's played so poorly, and yet to name him the starter, to me, is a shocker. And I've got people in Cleveland, because I used to work in Cleveland, and I've contacted and just said, okay, what's your observation? And I get all kinds of reaction. The Browns are going with Watson because they're with him 24/7, all the practices and all that. But yet my guys tell me his practices have been really ragged, very inconsistent, and he's not done well in the exhibition games. So are you starting him only because he's the most experienced and he's got 1 year left on the contract? Or are you starting him because he gives you really maybe the only chance to win some games? Or you're starting him and saying, okay, if he fails, and look at their schedule, they play the 2 top teams in Florida to start the season, they could be 0-2. You start him and it doesn't work. You yank him and he's gone forever. He'll just sit on the roster all year because you can't cut him because of the cap. And then you go to the next guy, Shedeur Sanders. And then to complicate the whole thing, they start the third quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, who was a part-time starter last year as a rookie out of Oregon, had good games, bad games, got benched. And he throws for $186 and 2 touchdowns in the first half. All of a sudden, everybody's saying, well, maybe we should look at Dylan Gabriel again. End of the day, it's dysfunctional. The acquisition of Watson was terrible. The contract was even worse. They are saddled with dead money that they'll never, ever going to be able to get rid of until the player exits at the end of this coming season. It's going to be a bad soap opera. It's going to be drama. It's going to be ugly. And if he doesn't play well, if he starts going 7 for 19 throwing the ball, and he's had a history recently of picks and turnovers and fumbles and sacks, my goodness, the acrimony in Cleveland is going to be worse than the damn winter weather in Cleveland, and the winter weather in Cleveland is pretty bloody bad.
Raiders and Niners played last night. What are we hearing about the Raiders quarterback situation, and in particular, when we'll see Fernando Mendoza in the regular season?
Well, it's interesting. Clint Kubiak this morning at his day after game press briefing said, we're not making any decision yet. Well, they've got another week and a half before they actually start to put their game plan into place for the start of the season. At the end of the day, Mendoza has shown an awful lot of skill, awful lot of nerve, awful lot of moxie, awful lot of toughness, awful lot of athleticism, but he's a raw rookie. And so in 3 appearances in preseason, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 5 sacks, 14 hits. He's taken a lot of punishment. So the reality check for Fernando Mendoza, Hustler, right now is kid's got no offensive line in front of him outside of the Pro Bowl center they signed. He's got no trustworthy wide receivers. Ashton Genty, the star running back, is dinged up again. He's got 2 tight ends. So I don't think there's a very good team around him. So, and if he's getting harassed and beat up by second, third stringers and guys who are going to get cut this weekend, what happens when he lines up against Pro Bowlers? So he's got all the moxie of the world, but I don't think he's ready yet. He's throwing balls into coverage and say, ooh, he got it in. Ooh, you shouldn't throw that. You do that opening weekend against real people, that's going to be a pick. So I think they probably start Kirk Clemens, and
Cousins.
I'm sorry.
Cousins.
Start the ex-Viking quarterback, and then just bring Mendoza along in practice, gauge him, see how Kirk does during the course of the first third of the season, first half of the season. And if the season evaporates, goes away, and the kid gets ready, and maybe there's some improvement in front of the kid in the offensive front, bring him in and start him. But to throw him to the Wolves from day one with that offensive front and the lack of studs at wide receiver, that's a bad combination. You don't want to wreck the kid.
Hey, just before we go, Josh Jacobs, a lot of smoke around him. Is he going to be getting a note, an email from the NFL that he's going to be sitting out? Any other upcoming suspensions that you're hearing about, Saw? Well,
we talked, last week we talked about why are some of these guys in camp, the Terry and Arnold mess, obviously the Atlanta defensive end, James Pierce. The next hammer to drop, I think, is going to be on Puka Nacua, the star wide receiver of the Los Angeles Rams. He was involved with 3 incidents. There's a mental health issue. He's been nicked up. Nobody's talking about it in the Rams camp, but everybody around the NFL is talking about it because he's got a lawsuit. There's an arrest issue with him biting a female friend. There was an anti-religious slur. I think he's going to get suspended maybe for 3 games. And now Josh Jacobs has been hit with two charges for some form of misdemeanor domestic incident with his girlfriend in which she got injured. I think he's going to get a minor suspension. League is under a lot of heat for not having taken sterner action against these guys throughout the entire summer. So I think Nacua is the next one. It's not going to be long, but 3 games out of the lineup for a team that is supposed to be the best team in the NFC, that's going to be a bit of a blow there.
So I hope you have a great weekend, my friend. Crack a cold one, a 1919 for you, and maybe a quick update on what people can find at the site as we head into the weekend.
Well, the only thing I can say in closing, I do want you to get me those frosted glasses, because this is what it is where I am right now in San Diego. That is in my driveway at this hour. America's finest city is America's hottest city right now. It's been 21 straight days of this. This is awful. Is it October yet? Hey, listen, you like sports? Check my website, leehacksawhamilton.com. Gives you a lot of written stuff every day. You can subscribe. I send out 2 emails, newsletters every day to everybody, including the people, my friends on the O Canada Network, regardless of what your president down here says about Canada. But check my website, and also you can access all the videos, my podcast, etc.
Lee, you have yourself a great weekend, pal. Thanks so much.
1919 to you. See you next Friday.
You bet. All right, there is the saw. All right, we got to get to marbles, and we the Coolbet lines have. Where will Connor Hellebuyck go next? You knew I would hit up Patty and the boys at Coolbet to get some lines, and we have those numbers. We will get to those and marbles as WST continues. Well, the season's not over at Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge. Still some incredible September fishing to be had, but the planning is going well underway into 2027, as well as booking at Aikens Lake. Aikens, of course, is an incredible fly-in fishing lodge with world-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality, where you can be on the water in just 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, including your flight. Check them out online at aikenslake.com for everything that's included in the Aikens experience, as well as different lodging options and availability for the 2027 fishing season. aikenslake.com and on all your socials at Aikens Lake. Booking into 2027, get on it and don't miss out for next year. I have to thank our friends at Breezy Bend for their wonderful support. What an incredible year it's been at Breezy. Golf courses all around the province have been in great shape. But I'll tell you what, I've never seen Breezy as mint as it is, and they've been working and improving the course really every single year for the last 10 years or so to make the beautiful track and facility that Breezy has right now. If you are thinking about a great long-term home for you and your family at one of Winnipeg's top private courses, now is the time to get in on 2027 membership. Go to breezybend.ca for more information on membership for 2027, or if you prefer, give our pal Corey Johnson a call, 895-7205 on Breezy Bend, and get ready to tee it up for 2027 at the Bend. WST will continue, but before that, we should give a big cheers to our wonderful partners and longtime sponsors at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, marbles coming up. Last call for that. Get it in. Exclamation mark marbles in the chat. Remo, let's get to the cool bet lines. And first off, let's start off with the Canadian Football League, because tonight it's the Bombers and the Montreal Alouettes. Let's head over to Coolbet and get in the lines. I think I'd been going into, here we are, CFL. Tonight, the Montreal Alouettes are 7-point favorites at Princess Auto Stadium. Biggest underdog the Bombers have been since 2018. And the last time they had been underdogs of more than 7 points is all the way back to 2015 when they were 9-point dogs in Calgary in Week 15. Shout out DT on those great numbers. Bombers. Hey, listen, if you want to take a swing on an upset at home tonight, big home dog, take the 7 points. Or Bombers plus 255 on the money line. Other games, now Vernon Adams is out, as I mentioned right off the top of the show. That's really moved the line in the Calgary-Hamilton game. It was Hamilton plus 5. It's now only 2.5. Love getting the start for Calgary. Hamilton plus 135 on the money line, Calgary minus 167. Still pretty solid. No change in the Argos Rough Riders game tomorrow. Sask minus 5. Argos plus 200, 2-1 to win the game tomorrow. Sask minus 250. And the BC Lions, 7-point favorites in Ottawa against the Red Blacks in the game coming up on Sunday. We do have the CFL 110 parlay, which is Calgary minus 4.5. Obviously, that number's changed a little bit. Montreal minus 6.5, and the Argos plus 5.5. You can get that in the exclusives tab. But Reem, as I mentioned, ask and you shall receive. The guys at CoolBet know what's important to the fans in the peg. We needed some lines on where Connor Hellebuyck will end up. So when we go to hockey, actually I got to find hockey right now because it's not on the main page as it normally is. We get to the NHL, and as you can see right now in the NHL specials, what team will Connor Hellebuyck be traded to? Odds are up. Let's go through them right now. And again, this is under if you go into hockey, go to futures, and then we've got specials. So here it is. The specials. Connor Hellebuyck, Buffalo Sabres, the most likely team Hellebuyck will be traded to, plus 175. The Carolina Hurricanes, plus 250. San Jose Sharks, 9-1. Jersey, plus 1050. Utah, 13-1. Columbus, Florida, and Detroit, all 20-1. The Oilers, 22-1. We've also got the Kraken, 35-1. Philly, 40-1. Habs, 45. And the Chicago Blackhawks, 52. And any other team not listed is 15-1. Remo, if I gave you $1 to throw on one of those options, who's getting your loony?
Yeah, I like the value on New Jersey. You have Jack Hughes there. He's a Michigan guy. There's a clip going around with him on Pat McAfee talking about how they train in the offseason together. He was also on Team USA. A lot of speculation that Quinn Hughes will be signing. That's a team that hasn't been able to get over the hump. And, they just traded away their goaltender in Jacob Markstrom. So I think New Jersey, if I had to pick, would be the team that I would throw money on, because I'm not going to throw money on the favorites. I don't think that there's really value there. That's not fun. So I'm going with New Jersey. I think that's a team looking to get over the hump, and they need a goalie.
And to your point, I mean, sort of it seems like Buffalo pretty much has drawn their line in the sand, and that's why a deal hasn't gotten done. And I do think that the Hurricanes make a lot of sense, but again, I don't think it's Eric Tilsky's way of going about things to pay the price that Winnipeg's looking for, although there certainly would be plenty of options, I think, in Carolina that could make that deal come to fruition. I think if I was going to put one down, I think I might go Sharks at 9-1. No, I'm not suggesting I think it's the most likely spot, but I do think that the Jets, when making a deal, would love to get a young goalie coming back. Askarov is certainly that guy. I know they traded a late first-round pick for him, and I think are pretty excited about his future. But if you're Mike Greer and you're looking at what you have right now, you've just bulked up the defense. You've got Macklin Celebrini, Will Smith, and those young guys. Celebrini's now signed moving forward. There is an element of okay, like maybe we are in win now mode right now. And a guy like Hellebuyck could help them do that. So I think both on what would be possible for the return and the potential fit, I don't mind the Sharks at 9-1, but interested in other people's thoughts on where they might throw a fin down on Hellebuyck's next destination. It is there in the specials right now. Over at CoolBet, don't forget, if you haven't already made your picks, you're cutting it close, but get your picks in for the CFL Pick'em. $50 on the line each and every week to the winner. Bombing one last week. Congratulations again to him. And we're all chasing skins for first place in the overall standings and the trip to the 113th Grey Cup in Calgary. All you need is an account. No deposit needed to play with us. And if you do want to make a deposit and you haven't played there before, though, use the promo code WST. We'll hook you up with that 100% bonus up to $200 on that first deposit. All right. Remo, I think I'm about ready for marbles. How about you?
Yeah, I think we've said it all, at least for today. I did see, we have a Discord where people are chatting 24/7.
Oh, what are they talking about?
Winnipeg Sports Talk. Well, I did see a comment from Spency, who wrote in the show discussion channel where people talk about what we're talking about. Someone let me know when Hellebuyck talk ends. I'm like, well, it's not going to happen ever. We're still talking about
Tell me when the trade is.
We're still talking about Dubois. Oh, it doesn't end when the trade happens. We'll be talking about that trade forever, just like we're talking about the Kane trade today. So it never ends here. 24/7 Winnipeg sports discussion. We did get a request for a Marble song. Derek McGurran. He's pumped for a busy weekend at Canada Life Center. Has a Deep Purple on Saturday, and I think with Kansas, and Weird Al on Sunday. And I'm going to Weird Al, and I'm super pumped about it.
You know what? You mentioned Weird Al. I don't know why it came up on my page like a Ticketmaster thing or something, and I clicked on it because I love Weird Al. I did not know he was coming when he's coming. And I was so upset to realize that I was going to be out of town when Weird Al is here. But you should full Weird Al review
on Monday.
On Monday's edition of WST.
I've seen him a couple times. I saw him on the Running with Scissors tour, I think 99 at the Burton Cummings, one of the first concerts I went to. And I saw him, I think 12-ish at Canada Life Center. Puts on a good show. He's still got it. Great band as well. And
Libel, huge Weird Al guy.
Oh, really? Libel? Is he going?
Huge Weird Al. Oh, I would be shocked if he's not. Although now maybe things are a little different with his kids. But back in the TSN 1290 days, Libel I'd always talk to him about Weird Al. We shared the love of Weird Al. All right. Anyways, enjoy Weird Al, you and anyone else going. Derek, you'll be working hard this weekend along with everyone at Canada Life Center. That's great. Let's get to Marbles. Marbles song from Tristan Rivers Music, and then it is go time.
It's Friday, another week of work's gone by. You deserve to treat yourself, maybe an ice cream cake or a bottle of rye. Oh no, day in, so that you can't deny. Why use effort even for pleasure? You find luck to try. You sign a new marble race. No to separate, that's too worst. Marble race. Just type marbles with the punctuation first. Marble race. Don't spam or you will suffer. Oh, let's fade. Marble race. You won't mark before it's too late.
All right. My guy Todd Fertani also mentioning Morden Corn and Apple this weekend. Saturday night, the Tea Party playing at Morden Corn and Apple. Get out there, get some corn on the cob, a couple cold ones, watch the Tea Party. Could be a good time. We'll enjoy everyone out there. That'll definitely be up on Travel Manitoba. The Morden Corn and Apple Festival, biggest weekend of the year down in Motown. Should be great. All right, Reem, what do we got? Now, I've got a question. Should we, as you put me in, should we add a marble for Ray Petcow and Chevy and see who comes out on top in a head-to-head battle?
Yes. I'm going to say yes, we'll do that.
Let's do it.
People also wanted us to give a marble for Dolly Parton, who passed away this week. I think we can't give marbles to everyone. I did want to give a shout-out to Tim Curry as well. Passed away. Don't think we'll be giving him
Curry. I heard a bunch of people talking about him. I don't know whether maybe I do know him, but
he was in Rocky Horror Picture Show, but I actually know him from Home Alone 2 as the concierge, I think he's the concierge.
Oh, of course, he was the concierge in Home Alone 2. How do I?
He was elite at the stolen credit card. I mean, that's an amazing line if you're watching Home Alone 2 every Christmas like I do.
Yeah, let's definitely give one to Dolly. Dolly's the icon.
Sure, there you go.
All right. Okay, so we'll see head-to-head, Ray Petcow versus Chevy. Everyone else has their marbles in.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we? What track do we have today?
Oh, Waiters also says Scary Movie 2. I forgot he was in Scary Movie 2. Elite movie. Someone said square marble for Connor Hellebuyck, and I think that summarizes a lot of fans' feelings in our comment section. I don't know if you've gone through our comments. We've got like 3 or 4 videos now about talking about Connor Hellebuyck, and people are sounding off, so there's a lot of sides of the coin here.
No shortage of takes to be had from fans of the Winnipeg Jets right now. That is for sure. All right, where are we going today?
Okay, Stormy suggested one. I don't know if we want a Dylan 70 one. I don't know. Let me see. I haven't done this for a while. I think I remember how to do marbles.
That's right. 1 week off, and it's all foreign.
There's no Dylan. This Dylan 70 tracks disappeared from the community tracks. There's no Dylan set. I guess they reset.
We need to reach out to Dylan 70.
I know.
Maybe his tracks are so good they're now behind a paywall or something. You got to get like an add-on or something like that. He is the greatest track creator.
The greatest track creator. One sec. Okay, I don't know. I didn't do any tracks. I've been going so hard here.
Busy.
I've been busy moderating this chat. We've got we had 500 people. It's like the biggest show in weeks, even bigger than yesterday. I have some written down here. I'll just pick one that I did.
Pick a good one.
Okay.
And then we do have another. We will do a secondary race for our pal. Was it? No, we did Josh yesterday. Who are we doing it for today?
Me. I run a league with a bunch of listeners. Who's in there?
The WST. Yes.
Running Man's in there. Cowboy. T. Will, Derek Schmidt, myself, Connor, and Liz. A number of other listeners. We do a fantasy football. We do a fantasy hockey. So I got T. Will's like, when are we doing the order? And I was like, oh yeah, I guess I should do
it today. But first, the main event, our main marble race, with everyone in here ready to go.
Okay, let me try this one. All my tracks are gone. He's saying Temple of Steve. People are saying Temple of Steve.
Well, the Temple of Steve. The Temple of Steve is somewhat appropriate if we've got marbles for Petcow and Chevy, because it did seem like they were just about at the finish line with the Buffalo Sabres. And then the marble didn't hit the pot and went out, and it was X.
Sure.
So yeah, let's do Temple of Steve again. This one, 50-50, you're getting in the hopper at the end. So you're not in until you're in. You could have the biggest lead, but no lead is safe in the Temple of Steve.
Yeah, sorry, all the tracks got changed, and I didn't do a preview of tracks. So, oh well, we are here, good to go.
All right, Temple of Steve. Over 200 marbles in the race today, including a special head-to-head battle on the marble track between Winnipeg Jets general manager Kevin Cheveldayoff and Connor Hellebuyck's agent Ray Petkow. We'll see who comes out on top in today's marble race. Who will have the official upper hand heading into the weekend as per the Winnipeg Sports Talk marble race?
I saw Ray Petkow was in top 5 very early, but he's no longer in there.
Seabreeze. Bo's killer. That's got to be Roscoe. Mark Amp. Mark Amp Yoga. Great to meet. I met Mark at the UFC. And he was our winner, actually, I think, of those UFC tickets, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe he was just there. Oh, no, he knew Chow Dog, who I was with, because he's Chow's yoga teacher. That's right. All right, we got Seabreeze, David Asplund, Nicole, and Mark Amp Yoga all in the mix, but it is still Seabreeze that is first. And Seabreeze actually very, very nice transition, although, yeah, a bit of a lead right now for Seabreeze. But again, the lead could be nothing if your timing is not good when you're going in to the final, the final hopper, because of course it's moving back and forth. So you have about a 50% chance of getting in. Now, Nicole, I think Seabreeze took the long way home, because our new leader is Mark Amp and David Asplund and John Lehman, Winnipeg Chaster, all right there. Mark Mfanasuk, David Asplund. Oh, Spency just got thrown over the top. All right, here we go, folks. Left or right? It could be beautiful.
Oh.
It could be disaster. It's on the left. Now it's moving to the right. And Mark Amp gets it done. That was so close.
Oh.
So close. Now, you'll see whether you go in or not. The carnage begins with everyone from the right side going in. No idea whether... I think I was actually not bad. I was kind of near the front. But now that it's there... Oh, it's now moving to the right. Moving back a very... You never know where the hopper, where the final bin is going. Oh, a few more missed calls. There's Bo's killer at the end. Will they make it in? Will they not? Will fire come and burn people before they make it in? The big question is, did you survive the race? Mark Amp is the winner. Our top 10, which I should go through. And then we'll see what happened with Petkow. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a bust for both Chevy and Ray Petkow, which kind of maybe describes the situation that everyone's in right now. Hold on a second. Go back to the top room for a second. Let me just read these out. So Mark Amp wins. Winnipeg Chaster, S. James, Pretty and Pionk. Look at Michelle Street at 5th place. Nicely done, Michelle. Arlowen. There's Ron P. Look at Ron, 7th. Nicely done. Yakman, K6000, and Ernie Thiessen is the top 10. All right, we got Derek McGorn, Will Sutton. Shout out to the Fish. Big comeback win last night. They're back in action this weekend. There's Derek McGorn, T. Will. Who do we got? Waiters, Duck Dad, CJ. Keep her rolling. There's Ryan Kibbins, Northside Sandwich, Corbin, Mary Jane, S2 Norm, THP Power. Okay, wait, Ray Petkow. Ray Petkow, 43rd. Keep her going. Let's see if Chevy finished the race or if he got bounced over the top rope. Ishaboy Bruce finishes. Nicely done. Michael Pruden, Captain Phil, Tristan Rivers Music, Kevin Cheveldayoff. Wow, they both finished, which is interesting. So we can say they will get to the finish line. Marbles has determined it. It was not a bust on either side. Dolly, unfortunately for Dolly, did not make it. I got whacked at the end. Dr. Terry, tough one, Doc. You deserved a better fate today. Mr. V-Dub. There's Bozeman. He's out as well. Rob Pepper. And, of course, if you want to go back, it's available on YouTube. You can find yourself wherever you ended up. But tons of carnage, as usually happens, with the Temple of Steve. All right, we got to fire this up quick, Reem, because I got to jump on 1200 in Ottawa with, there's P. Greggy, top 50. Nicely done. What do we got? Yeah, Mark is WST. So anyways, if you can, get the twists and turns out for the WST Listener League Fantasy Draft order. By the way, is the 55-yard line here? Because last week, the 55-yard line won. And it was brought up to me today on the Lock Shop with Iwanic that the 55-yard line might actually be a nasty and an Edmonton sports talker. So we do not have confirmation. But if the 55-yard line is in fact an EST, if his home field is Commonwealth as opposed to Princess Auto, the drought might be over for EST. Mark Amph, definitely a WSTer. All right, here we go. I like these names. Hawk Tua. Shifley my pants. The Cowboys, that's probably Cowboy. Remis Island. Who else do we have? Danny Dimes.
Dominators.
Okay. You'll be able to say who is who.
Yeah, T. Wells Hawk Tua. That was name was made it a couple of years ago.
Who's Garbage Time?
That's Randy D.
Randy D. What's up, Randy? We've missed Randy in the chat lately. Look at this. Remis Island in first. Hawk Tua in second. Blue and Old. And the Dominators. Lamb to the Slaughter. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's Les.
Les, right on. All right, I want one of you guys. What's Connor?
Connor's nothing beats a Jets to Holiday. I don't know what that is.
He's probably in last place because I haven't seen him on the board at all. Only the top 12 are in. All right. Is Remis going to get the first pick in the listener draft?
All right.
Someone step it up. Let's get this.
Someone beat me. I don't want to have to field any questions about it being rigged or anything.
To, the Dominators. But right now, everybody chasing the maestro of the marbles, Michael Remis, with T. Will hot on his trail. Oh, T. Will's pretty much caught him, but they're both getting worked over. Look at this. Major shakeup. Vikings and Lamb to the Slaughter, Garbage Time. But it is Vikings Seeking Vengeance is first. Lamb to the Slaughter, Garbage Time, Hawk Tua, Cowboys, Remis Island in sixth, Danny Dimes Dominators seventh. Nothing beats that's Connor's team is 8. Shifley my pants. Hurts doesn't it. Followed by Running Man and Blue and Old. Who's Blue and Old?
Blue and Old is Robert Swanson. He's been in the league since it started. Cowboys actually Hurts, doesn't it? That's Cowboy. And who got first? Vikings Seeking Vengeance is Derek Schmidt, who just joined the league. He's the last guy in this year.
Nicely
in the
done,
chat,
Derek.
so he gets first pick. So shout out to Derek.
So Vikings Seeking Vengeance, that's Derek. Who's Lamb to the Slaughter?
That's Les.
Les, okay. Garbage Time?
Randy D. And then Hawk Tua is T. Well. Cowboys Dave Zirk. It's me. I'm 6. I'll take it. Danny Dimes is Craig McDonald, who's won the league 2 years in a row, actually.
Wow.
I know. It's impressive.
Nicely done.
And that's Connor 8. Strafing with my pants is his name Scott Weeb. Cowboys 10. Running Man 11. And Blue and Old is Roberts. That's our league.
Right on. All right. Well, listen, folks, it has been quite a couple of days. By the way, I see Connor in the chat. I think Liz has been here too. Huge thanks again to Nick, Ziff, and Nicolinos last night. Man, we had an amazing dinner. It was great to get together with the whole gang, look ahead to the upcoming season, and talk a little bit more about the news that broke yesterday. Been a great week, great couple of days. Real thanks to Rennie for jumping on today. Wasn't planning on that. Hammer, Moe Khan, Hacksaw. Huge thanks to all of our sponsors. And the boys are going to be taking over for the next couple weeks. I can tell you, if there's a trade that goes down next week, watch the show, watch the social media, my social media, because I may have to find a produce section in Estonia to do a live reaction to any trade. I'm willing to bet that in a couple weeks when I'm back, we'll still be talking about will he or won't he be a training camp? Maybe we already have that answer, but whether things will be traded. Of course, you'll hear it. The guys will go live if anything happens here on WST when the trade, in fact, happens. And if not, we'll be back getting you ready for training camp in a couple weeks. But lots coming up on the program while I'm gone. Remis and Connor will handle things. Connor's going to be in with Hammer on CFL 110 next week. And then Jeff and I are actually going to be both away, and it'll be Connor and Reem with CFL 110. But we'll be cranking some stuff up and sending it in. Great show today. Great week. Thanks again to all of you. Fun stuff. And needless to say, lots to talk about. Go Bombers tonight. Go Gold Eyes this weekend. And hopefully we will get some sort of resolution in the near future. I'm not counting on it, but with Connor Hellebuyck and the Jets. You all have a great weekend, everybody. And don't forget, Monday, back at it, 1 p.m. right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk with Connor and Remis. And I will see you when I'm back in the host chair. Have a great one.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.